At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Arizona Diamondbacks. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by the State Farm agent of the game, John Garfinkel of Brooklyn. Contact John at johngarfinkel.com. By Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com for exceptional offers. By Optimum for the best offers on TV, internet, and phone. Visit Optimum.com. And by Empire City Casino. Real people, real money, real deal. You could be the next big winner. Well, what's the theme of the Mets week? It's the kids. Kids coming to the ballpark. Kids of all ages, kids of all stripes. Ready for a day at the ballpark. Come bring your kids to see our kids. Mets trying to build a core for the future, and it was on display last night. Conforto and Rosario and Smith. Nimmo. All the young players contributing to a Mets victory last night and hoping for more of the same today. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you today as the Mets wrap up their 4-game series against the Diamondbacks. The Mets won last night with contributions from many of their young players, and the Mets are starting to learn about some of these players, not only what they can do on the field, but how they mesh together as well. Your kids meet our kids. There might be a slogan in that, Gary. I think one of the most interesting parts of the last night, we didn't even see Chris Flexen, who won his 3rd game, was Dominic Smith during the game talking to Brandon Nimmo and letting him know what Jorge De La Rosa had and trying to walk him through as he went up to the plate. Nimmo walked a great at-bat. When you see things like this, you start to realize that maybe, you know, this Dominic Smith, who kind of is quiet by nature and low-key and chill, might be a leader. And after the game, he and Reynolds with his arm around him. When's the last time you've seen that? So for me, with a lot that has transpired here for the Mets in the last month, last night was the most exciting game I've seen in quite some time. Mets had a lot of news today about their injured players, including the fact that Zach Wheeler is going to be out for the rest of the season. Meanwhile, Rafael Montero getting an opportunity to pitch regularly right now and lately running with that opportunity. He really unbelievable in his last start. I think, though, what's really interesting is that on the biggest stage for him, probably pitching in Yankee Stadium, he was outstanding, as good as I've ever seen him. He was even better against Miami. Not as good of a lineup as the Yankees presented, but he might be well on his way to showing the Mets that he can pitch like he did in the minor leagues. And the Diamondbacks left-handed strikeout artist Robbie Ray comes back from a very scary moment last month. Well, you always feel for a pitcher who gets hit with a line drive. Coming back before that, he's established himself as one of the premier left-handers in all of the National League. His only start here at Citi Field last year, he threw 7 scoreless innings. Mets will try and do better against Robbie Ray today. Mets close out the homestand. Kids Day. First pitch coming right up. September 9th, the Mets take on the Cincinnati Reds at 7:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fleece blanket courtesy of the Northwest Company. For tickets, visit Mets.com/tickets. Cold Hard Facts brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Active players in the 300, 400, 500 club. Well, there are 3 of them right now. Paul Goldschmidt with the Diamondbacks here today, one of the 3, along with Mike Trout and Joey Votto, whom the Mets will see shortly in Cincinnati. Beautiful day in New York for the Mets to wrap up their homestand. First pitch coming up from Citi Field. Out onto the field for today's early day game. Lots of kids in the stands, lots of kids on the field. And the Mets trying to put another crimp in the Diamondbacks postseason hopes. Arizona in the first wild card spot going into the day, and Troy Lovullo will go with an offbeat lineup today. Gregor Blanco gets his first start of the series. Same for Ray Fuentes, same for Chris Herman, who hit a game-winning home run against Rafael Montero earlier this year in Arizona. And it's Montero, who has rejuvenated himself lately, who takes the mound today.
Well, the Land Rover numbers you can almost ignore. The way he's been pitching lately, let's see if he can continue. And that is pitching to the inside part of the plate on both the lefties and righties, which has opened that outside corner for Rafael.
Gregor Blanco, the former Brave, the former Giant, getting set to lead off for the Diamondbacks. Arizona a half game ahead of Colorado, and the Rockies 3 games ahead of Milwaukee in the National League wild card race.
Defensively for the Mets, this is their best outfield defense. Cespedes, Lagares, and Conforto, who's getting used to playing right field. Flores at third base today. Cicchini at second base today. The stalwarts Rosario and Smith might be there for quite some time. And Kevin Plawecki gets the day game after a night game.
So 3 rookies on the infield for the Mets this afternoon as Gregor Blanco gets set to lead off. There are the wild card standings in the National League. The Brewers just lost 2 out of 3 to the Giants. That really put a crimp in their hopes, but they're still within 3 games of those top 2 teams. Montero's first pitch, a fastball for a strike, and we're underway. 33-year-old Gregor Blanco spent 5 years with the Giants before coming to Arizona this year, making his 46th start of the year. And Montero misses inside, a ball and a strike. Ketel Marte on deck, then Jake Lamb for the D-backs in the first.
Always got to be ready for the bunt from Blanco if you're Flores.
And a good changeup by Montero. That changeup and the refinement of it, along with being in more of an attack mode, has been such a big key for Montero taking a step forward this year.
Fastball in, changeup away. It's worked since 1885.
So you're saying that Montero is maybe channeling old Hoss Radbourn?
Yeah, he is. It's been fun to watch him pitch, right? The last 2 times out.
Well, he had shown signs of it earlier this year, but just seems like he's turned another corner as the changeup is fouled off. And I think we saw it most particularly in Yankee Stadium, where, you know, as you've talked many times, you have to throw inside even more because of that short porch in right field, and it just seemed like something clicked in that game.
Truck came in early. He wants a little quicker game today.
So early it might be back. 2-2, and he misses with a slider. Full count to Blanco with Marte on deck.
Don't get fancy here. Blanco's not a home run hitter. Throw something on the outside part. Little F8 in your scorecard to be nice here. Start the game.
Outfield playing shallow and toward left against Blanco. And he struck him out with a fastball. Montero fans the first batter of the afternoon.
Strikeout even better. Hitter knows you're coming with a fastball, and he's still got enough on it down the middle to throw it by him. Impressive by Rafael.
So 1 out, and now Ketel Marte, who's 1 for 11 in this series, has started all 4 games at shortstop. One of the 2 injured shortstops for the Diamondbacks, Nick Ahmed, has begun a rehab assignment. The other one, Chris Owings, looks like he's further away, so Marte continues to play every day. Struggling with the bat right now, though. And he checks his swing, and he held it in time on the slider. 2-0.
You know what I'm most impressed with the last 2 starts by Montero? It came off of probably his worst start as a pro. You know, all those pitches in the first inning, 74 pitches after 2. It only lasted 3 innings.
Montero made 1 start against Arizona his rookie year in 2014. He had the relief outing in Arizona earlier this year, the only times he's faced this team. And he gets the slider over for a strike. 2-2. Home plate umpire tonight, Marvin Hudson. Mike Estabrook, the crew chief Jerry Lane, and young Ryan Addison rounding out this crew.
Marvin's got the shades on. Styling.
Future looks bright. 2-2. Late swing foul. I mean, you see catchers occasionally wear sunglasses. You see a few hitters now and then wear sunglasses, but not often umpires.
Well, you know, there's a whole history, of course, of umpires trying not to wear glasses because, you know, fans will give them the business.
Those days, fortunately, have passed. Little tapper, shallow left. It may fall in, and does for a base hit. So Marte lunging for the changeup, dumps one to the left field for a 1-out single.
Well, after that swing, you really have to, in left field, play Marte similar to how you play maybe Ichiro for the Marlins. He just cannot put that into play to left field with any power. Drops it perfectly in for a hit.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Jake Lamb. Lamb 1 for 7 in this series. Got to the plate last night with 2 out in the 9th as the tying run. got a pretty good pitch to hit from A.J. Ramos, but hit a routine fly ball to right field to end the game. Lamb with 27 home runs, 95 driven in. Lots of walks, lots of strikeouts. He's a true outcome fellow. Not quite Joey Gallo, but 3 true outcomes. That's his middle name. It's a long middle name. And Lamb takes the changeup just out of the strike zone. 2-0. Paul Goldschmidt waiting on deck. Diamondbacks at one time 22 games over 500. They have struggled for the last couple of months to find any kind of consistency. Call strike to Lamb. 2-1. Lamb and Goldschmidt have performed at a high level all year. They got J.D. Martinez as a terrific third wheel in the middle of the batting order, but they have not had a lot of support around them. And in the year where the Diamondbacks have pitched better than expected, they're trying to hang on. There goes Marte. Swung and missed. Throw by Plawecki right on the money, but getting around the tag is Marte, who steals second. That's his first stolen base of the year.
Well, good jump from Marte, and Plawecki got rid of it awfully quickly. It was a breaking ball, so helps Marte. And watch from Rosario. See how he comes up on the ball? That's a common young person's mistake. You stay on the bag. The ball travels faster than your swipe tag will travel. So you wait for the ball and slap the tag down.
It was a good throw by Plawecki. So now Marte in scoring position. 2-2 count to Lamb with 1 out. And he lines one toward the middle. Grabbed by Rosario. Steps on the bag for the double play. Rosario had positioned himself from the left side of the bag over to the right side right before that pitch, and he was perfectly placed to snag the liner and double up Marte. 6 unassisted to end the inning. Trapped.
He'll take his glove and reach back with it, bring it to his hand. That makes the transition that much quicker than if you try to reach your right hand in front of you to the glove. Brought the glove back to the hand. Nice move by Plawecki.
Robbie Ray on the mound for the Diamondbacks. Juan Lagares' first pitch swinging, fouls one off.
Well, Toyota numbers. Robbie Ray is one of the best left-handers in the league. He can strike people out. 151 in 118 innings, only 88 hits. Great fastball.
He has made a huge jump forward this year by adding a curveball to his repertoire to go with his fastball and his slider. But it's going to be interesting to see how he fares today. It always is the first time a pitcher comes back from being hit in the head by a line drive. It was a very scary moment. Fortunately, Ray just needed a couple of stitches and he was okay. And he gets Lagares on 3 pitches to strike out his first batter. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup today. Gavin Cecchini gets a start at second base. Lagares in the leadoff spot after Nimmo led off last night, got on base 4 times, but with a lefty on the mound, Nimmo sits today. Here's Michael Conforto, 4 for 8 in this series, drove in a couple of runs last night, and takes the first pitch slider for a strike. Conforto hitting .216 against lefties this year. 6 of his 27 home runs have come against left-handers.
I mean, the U.S. Open's coming. I'm thinking Sharapova, Celis, Wozniacki, real grunters, guys, girls that make sounds when they play tennis. Well, you hear loud sounds from Ray when he lets the ball go.
That is about as pronounced a pitcher grunt as we've heard in a while.
Greinke on their team is another guy that will make a lot of noise.
High fastball as Conforto swinging and shaking his head 2-2. Wonder whether the grunting is distracting at all to the hitter who's trying to pick up the pitch.
The distraction is the 95 chest high. That's what the distraction is.
Probably doesn't help. And it comes inside at 97 to strike out Conforto. So Ray has fanned his first 2 hitters.
I mean, I know the Mets hitters know this. Maybe it's more difficult to do. You have to lay off the pitch up from Ray. That is his strength. He'll keep throwing that in that position. If you keep swinging at that, he'll strike out 12. Defense, Gregor Blanco first start. Ray Fuentes first start. JD Martinez 4th game in right field. Lamb, Marte, Drury, and Goldschmidt. Drury has split the games with Daniel Descalso and Chris Herman. 2 R's, 2 N's behind the plate.
Just seems so unnecessary. All those R's and N's. Here's Cespedes with 2 out. Cespedes all of a sudden swinging a very hot bat. Didn't start last night, was intentionally walked as a pinch hitter. He's 6 for 8 in this series and 8 for 12 over his last 4 games. Nasty slider by Ray, and it's 0-2.
Same grunt on the slider.
So he's not giving away his pitches, not telegraphing.
Well, StatCast is going to get a decibel level, and then they'll be able to put that into. We'll be able to include that in the program next time.
Decibel level and the tone as well.
Yes.
1-2 to Cespedes.
Ray also has a real, I call it alpha way of pitching. When he gets behind you, he's not trying to trick you. He'll come after you.
Cespedes asking for time after a lengthy consultation between Ray and Herman to try and figure out what to throw next. Goes to the curveball and strikes out Cespedes, and Robbie Ray strikes out the side in his first inning back from the disabled list. Strong start for the Diamondbacks lefty. No score after 1. Paul Goldschmidt leading off in the second inning for Arizona. Rough night last night for Goldschmidt. Left a ton of runners on base. And Montero falls behind him 2-0. Goldschmidt 3 for 13 in this series. Having another MVP caliber year. He's already finished second in the MVP balloting twice in his career. 2-0 slider from Montero misses, and he's behind 3-0. J.D. Martinez waiting on deck. And Goldschmidt takes a strike. Goldschmidt third in the National League in on-base percentage, 7th in slugging percentage. 29 home runs, 98 driven in. He is the heart and soul of this Arizona team. And that missed somewhere. I'm not sure where.
That's the third pitch that Marvin Hudson has not called, that's been on the knees. So what you're going to get from Hudson and his strike zone is he likes the ball up. He calls that pitch. He doesn't call the ball on the knees. I thought this caught all knees. Let's see. Close.
It's usually called a strike.
Yeah, it's close.
So first walk given up by Montero, and now we'll face J.D. Martinez, who's driven in 5 runs in the first 3 games of this series. Gotta watch out for Goldschmidt. He'll sneak a steal every now and then, and Martinez takes a fastball strike. Goldschmidt has stolen 16 this year and caught only 4 times. And Montero comes inside. It's good to see he's continuing to do that.
That's 2 in a row too. I was mentioning last night this entire series Montero and other Mets pitchers, no one's thrown inside to Martinez. Montero's opting for that strategy.
And comes in again but misses, and now it's 2-1. Well, we've seen several times in this series Martinez reach across the plate and get hits, including a 3-run homer that he hit in the first inning on Tuesday night. So it certainly behooves the Mets to work inside, and they're going to try again. And that's pulled foul. Now it's 2-2.
One problem with working inside is once you get to a 2-1 count, that allows the hitter to maybe get that bat started a little early.
But now that you've come inside like this, does that better set you up to go away?
Yeah,
get him with a slider.
Don't be predictable. Now paint him outside with a fastball. It'll look like it's 3 feet away. Although he's thrown a lot of fastballs in a row, probably a slider away here.
2-2 to Martinez, and it's hooked in the air to left. Cespedes back. He's got lined up. And Goldschmidt goes back to first, 1 out. So 1 out and 1 on. Now Brandon Drury, the second baseman, 0 for 6 in this series. And it's a lot of stolen bases for a big guy who is not a burner.
And great percentage. Anything over 80% is happening.
Drury's second start in this series. He had been the just about everyday second baseman earlier this year, but more recently has lost playing time, mostly for defensive reasons, but he's also cooled down offensively after a strong start to the year. Does have 30 doubles, which is tied for 5th in the National League. Drury gets jammed and fouls it off, 0-1. So we mentioned in the open today that there was a lot of news about some of the Mets rehabbing personnel.
Yes.
The big news from that was that J.R.'s Familia, who worked back-to-back nights for Brooklyn, is going to be activated tomorrow night for the start of the series in Washington. That's great news. The other piece of news is that Zach Wheeler has been shut down for the season. 2 to Drury. But there was so much news that the Mets did something they don't normally do. They put out a press release which had 10 different players on it and gave updates on their status.
That's good for Terry Collins.
Well, man, he had to answer that many fewer questions.
Exactly.
He'll have to answer some, but fewer than he would have otherwise. We'll try and give you a rundown, although it may take a while. 0-2 coming, and Drury takes the low one in. 1-2. So Familia was the first guy on the list. Said he'll be activated tomorrow. Matt Harvey starts a rehab game Saturday for St. Lucie. Noah Syndergaard is going to St. Lucie to continue his throwing program and will throw live batting practice while he's down there. There's more. Seth Lugo is going to throw a bullpen session on Friday. Now, if that goes well, Terry Collins said this morning that Lugo might be able to pitch for the Mets on Sunday because they'll need an extra starter Sunday with the doubleheader. Tommy Malone scheduled for 1 game, and Lugo presumably, if all goes well, will pitch the other. That's in there. Strike 3 call. Got him looking at the changeup. Second strikeout for Montero, and there are 2 out. And now Ray Fuentes, the center fielder. Okay, so here we go. So David Wright will participate in baseball activities in Port St. Lucie today. Remember, it was rained out last night of his what would have been his second rehab game. Zach Wheeler, we mentioned, out for the year. Jose Reyes, all it says on Reyes is that he's eligible to come off the disabled list Saturday. Doesn't say anything about whether he will be coming off the disabled list Saturday, but he's eligible.
Okay.
Got the oblique injury. TJ Rivera currently rehabbing his right arm in Port St. Lucie. Steven Matz underwent successful surgery yesterday, decompression and reposition of the ulnar nerve in his elbow. It went well. And another piece of new news, which is that Tyler Pill, who we thought might get plugged into one of those starts on Sunday, that won't happen. Pill underwent arthroscopic elbow debridement surgery yesterday, so he's done.
We hardly knew ye.
Okay, that's it.
Very nice, Gary.
That's the news. Ray Fuentes takes a strike. I really applaud the Mets for going this route, by the way. It's a great idea to do this on a regular basis so that Terry doesn't have to answer 1,000 questions about injuries every day.
And it's thorough.
Right.
Beautiful. Good job.
Fuentes making his first start of the series, just came off the disabled list a couple of days ago. He was out with a left thumb contusion that was not included in the Mets injury update. We saw Fuentes last year with Kansas City. He was originally a first-round draft pick by the Red Sox. Born in Orlando, went to high school in Puerto Rico. Goldschmidt at first, and Fuentes lays off. 1-2.
It's almost like, to me, Montero's pitching angry the last 3 starts, you know, with purpose. Not afraid to go inside. He's trying to dictate the at-bats instead of the hitters doing it.
And he gets him with a changeup. Strong inning for Montero after a leadoff walk. He strikes out Drury and Fuentes back-to-back to get through the inning. No score in the second. Weather's been just perfect the last couple of days. Robbie Ray struck out the side in the first inning. Only the second pitcher to do that against the Mets in the first inning this year. Hyun-Jin Ryu for the Dodgers August 6th. And now Robbie Ray, a couple of lefties who've been able to strike out the side in the first. Wilmer Flores takes a fastball for a strike.
Before every pitch, a little, well, my son would love that little move. You know what it is? He's just he's trying to take a breath, and that's how he's doing it, to relax himself before he lets the ball go.
Whatever works.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Just blowing out a little air, and Wilmer is hit by the pitch, and the Mets have their first base runner of the day. Back foot. So Ray will pitch out of the stretch for the first time. Now Ahmed Rosario moved up to number 5 in the order today. He's had a really good series, 5 for 12 in the first 3 games. Had an RBI hit last night. And takes the fastball inside from Ray. Rosario riding a 6-game hitting streak. That's his average at .269. Fouls it away, 1-1. We've mentioned a couple of times the unfortunate incident that Robbie Ray was involved in last month in St. Louis. What we didn't mention is that the ball that Luke Voit hit that struck Robbie Ray on the left side of his head, the exit velocity was 108 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
So you can imagine how scary that moment was. And even Voit stood out there while Ray was being attended to, and he was clearly shaken. And when Ray was able to compose himself, Voit gave him a big hug and wound up with blood on his jersey. Had to end up going and changing his jersey. But he was shaken. I say, imagine any hitter would be in that kind of circumstance.
I mean, you're going up mano a mano, and you want to literally hit one through the box at 108 miles an hour, but you don't want it to hit anybody. It always shakes up the player to hit it.
Ray behind on Rosario, 3-1, and Ahmed fouls it off.
Very surprised all the innings I pitched that I didn't ever have one really close to the head. In Montreal, I had a ball hit me right in the chest, and I never saw it. They had yellow seats there, and I never saw it. And it hit me in the chest. Could hit me right in the face without ever seeing it. So very fortunate.
Well, you had the advantage, though. You were in a pretty good defensive position to protect yourself.
Yes.
Not every pitcher is. I mean, Ray falls off severely toward the third base side, and he's kind of sideways when that ball gets into the hitting zone.
Well, I think that the best case scenario is that you follow through, and then you make yourself like a goalie, like a hockey goalie, where you're trying to make sure you're ready for the ball anywhere.
3-2 coming, and Rosario hits it out to right, and Martinez is right there. Flores back to first, 1 out. Stay connected with a fully customizable experience with the MLB.com at Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcasts, StatCast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat today. Now Dominic Smith, who hit his 3rd big league home run last night, looking for his first hit against a left-hander. He's gotten some exposure to lefties, but he's been sat a couple of times against them as well. He's 0 for 8 so far, and this is about as tough a lefty as he's going to face. left-hand hitters hitting .218 against Ray, which is actually better than the righties. That's how tough he is. And that one pops away from Herman, but not far away for Flores to make a move.
It's interesting. The wheels are turning when Dominic Smith's at the bat. In between pitches, he not only catches a sign, but you can see that he's really putting a lot of thought into his preparedness for this pitch, staying in the moment.
Fastball inside, 2-1. They're playing the third baseman Lamb about 50 feet off the line. Now he's going to move even further off the line, and with a guy that throws as hard as Ray and throws away.
Silliest defense I've ever seen, lefty on lefty.
I mean, Dom is a guy who's going to go line to line. Flores at first and 1 out. And that slider gets behind Herman. Now Flores takes off, and he'll make it without a throw. Second one that Herman failed to catch, and this one cost him a base.
Well, you know a guy's hard to hit if he's hard to catch, and that's 2 in a row for Herman, who turns it over, gets the short hop, but lost where the ball is. See how he put his hand down for the ball, but it had escaped to his right. And good read by Wilmer. He wanted to the last time, and this time a better read, bigger jump, and takes a bag.
Still waiting to hear how they're going to score that. And now they say pass ball. Last night's catcher for the Diamondbacks, Iannetta, had a pass ball that led to a run. Now a pass ball against Herman. Flores at second with 1 out, and Smith, as that ball ran in on him, a defensive cut, not what you want on 3-1.
You know, we've seen 3 games so far here. Very few pitchers, relievers or starters, have pitched inside. These two, Montero and Ray, are trying to own the inside corner.
Second straight full count for Ray. And Smith able to make contact on a pitch that was almost unhittable.
Got a little emergency hack working right now, but still, that's all right. Foul it off until you get something that maybe you can handle. This is a tough matchup for Smith, and I, for one, am glad he's in there. It's the only way you get better.
You know, it's an interesting contrast, because remember when Michael Conforto came up 2 years ago, the Mets were in a pennant race, and they shielded him from left-handers.
Right.
Circumstances are different now. You're not in a pennant race. You can afford to allow Smith to face the lefties and, you know, basically throw him in the deep end of the pool. 8th pitch of the at bat coming from Ray to Smith. He lifts that one foul. He's getting better cuts as this at bat goes along. Robbie Ray, 12th round draft pick by the Nationals in 2010. They traded him to Detroit for Doug Fister. Tigers traded him in a 3-way deal, the deal in which Arizona gave up Didi Gregorius. And Smith hits one out to left field. Blanco comes on to get it, and that's the second out.
Now that'll go as an F7 in your scorecard, but that's a good at bat by Smith. Worked it to 3-2, took a couple of good cuts, might have swung at ball 4, but still a good at bat, and it's only going to make him better. Robbie Ray, I saw him early in his career with Detroit, maybe at his worst. He was a guy that would walk 4, 5, 6 a game, couldn't throw strikes, lost out there. And it's another example with left-handers sometimes, or young pitchers. You sometimes have to have a lot of patience.
Well, last year he was still trying to find himself. He had some great games and the Mets saw him at his best, but it was not consistent at all. He wound up 8-15, an ERA just under 5, making a full season's worth of starts. But this year he has been a far more consistent pitcher, all-star for the first time, and striking out 11.5 per 9 innings, which he doesn't have enough innings because of the injury he suffered, but he would be second in the league in strikeouts per 9, behind Max Scherzer. Better on the road than at home.
Whoa.
And it doesn't pitch in a great pitcher's ballpark in Arizona.
It's not, but the Diamondbacks are 39-23 at home, and he hasn't benefited from that.
Kevin Plawecki 1 for 4 in this series, trying to pick up Flores from second with 2 out. And that one sails, 2-1. Plawecki, his 9th start of the season. He's basically been splitting playing time with Travis d'Arnaud since he got back from Vegas, after the Mets allowed Rene Rivera to go on waivers to the Cubs, pretty much in order to create a spot for Plawecki so they can get a good look at him over the last 6 weeks, after Kevin had a very good offensive season in AAA. Ray throws the fastball by him, and it's 2-2.
Sure, we'll have our crack staff on it, but Robbie Ray going for the swing and miss championship of the world here.
Corey Lovello said before the game that Ray would probably be limited to about 90 pitches today. First start back in almost a month. So he's running a lot of deep counts, which might limit his tenure in this game. 3rd straight full count.
Interesting base open, 8th place hitter behind him. So you can see fastball, that curveball he threw to Cespedes.
Gavin Cecchini on deck. Decision between Ray and Herman, and now the second baseman Drury wants to come in and find out what the signs are. To Plawecki, and he struck him out on the breaking ball in the dirt. 4th strikeout for Ray, and he works around the leadoff hit by pitch. After 2 at 6. In the third when last they met on May 17th. This is what happened in the 11th inning. The only batter Montero faced that night, Herman with the walk-off home run. As the Diamondbacks swept that 3-game series. Herman's making his 42nd start. About half of those catching. He's also played the outfield and first base. Hitting just 158, but 8 home runs in part-time duty. He takes a slider at his feet for ball 1. Montero worked around a leadoff walk in the second with a couple of strikeouts. There's a strike to Herman, 1-1. The pitcher Robbie Ray on deck, then Gregor Blanco. Flores now moves over to the right side of the infield after 1 strike on Herman. He'll go into the middle of the triangle. Good changeup by Montero, 1-2. Tell you what, the mid-batter infield shifts keeps everybody in shape. Get your running in.
I'm for outlawing those. Whatever shift you're in, you got to stay in.
And it works perfectly. Flores positioned in that shift, throws out Herman. That's a 5-3 put out in your scorecard, even though it looked like a 4-3.
You know, when they get a pitch clock here, which they're probably going to get at some point, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to cost your pitcher a strike or cost him a ball.
Going to have to be much more efficient about it.
Yes.
That's for certain.
Well, you might not be able to move the third baseman over there. You might have to move the shortstop over.
So 1 out now. Robbie Ray, who's got 8 hits this year. He's hitting .211. Has 1 home run in his career. Montero wasting no time, getting to 0-2. Tips it for strike 3. That's 4 strikeouts first time through the batting order for Montero. 2 out and nobody on. Get all the reaction from today's game, plus the latest from the Jets and Giants as they gear up for Saturday's preseason matchup on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY.
The Mayor's Trophy game.
Other than the fact that it's not played within the confines of New York, which would kind of take the mayor out. Maybe the mayor of East Rutherford.
There you go.
2 out. Here's Gregor Blanco, who struck out his first time up. And he takes a slider low for ball 1. You're right about Marvin Hudson. No low strikes.
Seen the pace of Montero the last 3 starts and quickened up. Tempo is nice.
You know, we've said this often about Rafael. He's a guy who came to pitching very late. He grew up in the Dominican Republic, but over near the Haitian border where they didn't play a lot of baseball, and really didn't take the game seriously until he moved to Santo Domingo when he was 17. Didn't sign till he was 20, which is 4 years later than most Dominican players sign. So even though he's 26 and should be fairly far along and made it to the big leagues for the first time 3 years ago, he is still maturing as a pitcher, and maybe we've reached that critical point. Mets can only hope that that's the case. 2-2 to Blanco, and it's inside, full count. Ketel Marte would be next. 3-2 coming. He fouls off the changeup.
Remember last time he had him 3-2? Threw a fastball right by him, so not predictable. Another good trait to have if you're a starting pitcher.
Working with Plawecki for the second straight start. Slider fouled off. I mean, Rene Rivera had become Montero's personal catcher over the last couple of months.
They call it the catching whisperer for him. I think the next step for Rafael Montero is that you can see him pitching with extreme confidence. You can see him pitching with earnest, an idea. Next will be when he gets in trouble, how he gets himself out of trouble, because there's going to be those days. And when he does that, complete pitcher.
Uses the changeup to strike out Blanco for the second time. No score at the middle of the third. Rectangle in the middle of Manhattan and made a park out of it. Isn't it lovely?
I'm there all the time. My favorite places to go in the city.
Gavin Cicchini leads off the home third, making his 7th start of the year. Playing second base today, and he takes a strike. Cicchini 1 for 4 in this series. Montero on deck, and then Juan Lagares for the Mets in the third against Robbie Ray. And Cicchini laces one right at Lamb, who caught it in self-protection for the first out.
Well, it's really the first hard contact off Ray so far. Hit right on the nose, a bullet right at the left hip of Jake Lamb. Ball caught him.
Now Montero 2 for 15 at the plate this year.
Feel too comfortable hitting off Ray. If you're a pitcher and limited at bats, guy throws hard. He's grunting and groaning at you. Nasty hook.
No hook necessary. 5 strikeouts for Ray, first time through the batting order, and they're 2 out. It's 156 strikeouts in 121 innings for Robbie Ray.
Well, we're locked in the day game after a night game type of first 3 innings, 4 or 5 innings maybe.
Well, this is all of a piece with what the Mets have seen from Ray before. His 3 starts against the Mets in his career, he has an 0.53 ERA. And nothing so far today. As Lagares has struck out looking his first time up, and he goes after a first pitch slider. Robbie Ray from Brentwood, Tennessee. Fires inside. Ball and a strike.
A cross between a Moore from San Francisco and maybe a Cliff Lee at his best.
Although he throws harder than both those guys.
Maybe I'm thinking Moore when he first came up with Tampa Bay.
Michael Conforto would be next. 2-1 to Lagares. And he gets a borderline strike. 2-2.
When he sets up, he's very wide, and that way he reminds me, now this is an older player, not a lot of people know, but Mark Langston, outstanding lefty.
Or perhaps Johan Santana.
There you go. Oh yes, that's even better.
I mean, it creates a certain air of ownership out there, the way he sets up.
If you were in a gunfight at the OK Corral, that's the position you take.
3-2, and he walked him. First walk given up by Ray, who averages 4.4 walks per 9, so he'll have his control bouts. Mets have their second base runner of the game. And now Conforto, who struck out his first time up. Your Spectrum high-speed pitch. It's closer than you might think.
Just like last night. Closer and closer.
I could have sworn we saw 97 on Ray's gun. But Spectrum begs to differ.
I'm not completely sold, but
and all of a sudden Ray having some trouble commanding his fastball.
you know, I describe it every once in a while. Starting pitching has become 2 hours of fury. None better exemplified than Robbie Ray.
To Conforto. Another way that walk to Lagares. First time that Juan Lagares has drawn a walk since May 25th. So first time since he'd come back from the DL. He was out with a broken thumb for a couple of months. Fastball knee high for a strike. 1-2 to Conforto. At first with 2 out. Slider buried in the dirt. 2-2. Cespedes would be next. Two coming. Struck him out. 96 from Ray for his 6th strikeout in the first 3 innings. Second time he's gotten Conforto. fourth inning, Rafael Montero faces Ketel Marte and fires a fastball for a strike. No score as we start the fourth. There's been only one hit in this game, a bloop single by Marte in the first inning. And Montero comes inside, ball and strike. Marte dumped a base hit into left field on a changeup that was well off the plate. He stole second, but then was doubled off second on a line drive. Balls and a strike. Marte, then Jake Lamb and Paul Goldschmidt. An essential batter for Montero leading off the inning. With the big guys next. He shoots one foul, 2-2. Just gets a piece of it. It's going to Washington after the game today. Open a 4-game series with the Nats tomorrow night. When they drew up the schedule at the beginning of the year, you thought that could be a series like that early September series was 2 years ago in Washington. It's going to be a little different. Jacob deGrom opens the series tomorrow night. Might well be Gio Gonzalez, might be A.J. Cole pitching for the Nats tomorrow night. They weren't sure after Max Scherzer was not ready to go tomorrow. They had initially said Scherzer might pitch the opening game of the series, but his neck is not quite ready. He might pitch Sunday. So they're a little bit in a state of flux. Mets will have deGrom tomorrow, Gazelman Saturday, and then Tommy Malone and perhaps Seth Lugo on Sunday. 8th pitch of the at bat coming to Marte. And he fouls off another one. So Marte proving to be pesky. The Nats have all sorts of injuries to their outfield. I mean, their entire projected starting outfield, Worth, Eaton, Harper, all out. Worth's on his way back right now. But they're playing guys who they never even conceived of when the year began. There's Marte on with a walk. Second one given up by Montero. But they've got such a big lead. They can basically wait out all their hurts. But they picked up Howie Kendrick from the Phillies. He's been leading off and doing a nice job for them. They're playing Andrew Stevenson. They've got Alejandro De Aza. All those guys are getting playing time in their outfield with not only the starters but also
Goodwin and others.
Goodwin got hurt, right? Michael Taylor was out, but now he's come back. Here's Jake Lamb, who lined into a double play his first time up. As that pitch was being thrown, Rosario was moving from the left side of the infield to the right side. So that's shifting a little late that time.
On that double play that he caught, he shifted late on that play too. So information coming from the bench a little late.
Well, let me ask you this. You got people moving all over the place. Does it, especially in a situation like that where you have a shortstop moving behind the bag, behind the pitcher, can that distract the hitter?
It certainly can, because you know the hitters all the time are very cognizant of where the umpires are, and if they're in their line of vision, they try to move them. So it'd be interesting if you get a shortstop out there dancing around.
And not only that, but unlike the umpires, you've got a white uniform, and you could, I would conceive of, lose the ball in the white uniform of the shortstop. Lamb gets under one. Conforto shading his eyes. Tough sun field out there, but he stays with it for the first out.
And just like last night in that last out he made off Ramos, just missed by Lamb. That's how you do it, folks. You use the glove to shade the sun so the ball never stays in the sun. So you take the sun out of play, keep your eye on the ball with the sunglasses, of course, that helps, and make the play.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Goldschmidt, who drew a walk his first time up. Goldschmidt is not in his best groove of the season right now. We've seen him chase pitches he doesn't normally chase.
He has never had one of those signature series here at Citi Field. This is not his favorite place to hit.
Good night here on Tuesday night with a couple of doubles, but he's had some rough at bats as well.
See the shadow on his face? If you want to practice it, if your kid's at home, look up in the sun, put that glove up against the sun, and you want the ball about 6 inches to a foot to the right of that path. And that'll keep the ball out of the path of the sun that is blocked by your glove. That's the proper form.
Now, we just spent how many weeks advising people not to look up at the sun?
Oh, that's right.
And now you're telling them it's okay to look up at the sun.
You have the glasses on.
Okay, but not the eclipse glasses. Take it inside 1-1. I mean, you're ratcheting back all the eclipse education that just happened.
You're right. I mean, I had to turn off the TV after a while. I mean, I get it.
Well, it wasn't just the TV. I don't know if this happened to you, but the night before the eclipse, my mom called me.
She did?
To remind me.
Really?
Not to look.
You got a good mom.
I said, Mom, we did this when I was 7. We're going to do this again?
I got nothing from my mom.
Line toward the middle. Cicchini up to grab it. Ball didn't have a lot of juice on it, but Cicchini had to time it well to pick off the soft liner by Goldschmidt for the second out.
Well, the hardest part of this play is trying to make sure you time it the right way, because you're running back to a spot where you think it's going to be on its way down from its apex. And Cicchini did a great job of getting back there and making a tougher play look pretty easy.
Got only one quibble as J.D. Martinez steps in. As he breaks his bat, a little flare for Dom Smith. The only quibble was, why is Cicchini not wearing sunglasses on that side of the field? I want to bring some out the next inning. Good pitching by Montero. Still no score. Was the first player to reach 100 stolen bases as a Met for a career, not a season. No Met has ever stolen 100 in a season. Yoenis Cespedes leads off the home for it. Reyes has the record, right? 78 in a season.
That's right, 78.
The hard part is remembering whose record he broke.
I think I know it. I've been listening to you and Keith.
Cespedes drives one deep left field. Forget that. Long gone into the second deck. Cespedes breaks the ice with his 17th home run of the year. 1-0 New York. Well, he's been heating up over the last week. And that was like a cannon shot.
First pitch changeup for a ball. Second pitch get me over slider, slurve, whatever it was. A rocket out of here. Target's supposed to be a backdoor breaking ball. Ends up middle. Gotta be nice to know as soon as you hit it, it's out. Second deck.
Nobody crushes bad breaking balls like he does. So the Mets get on the board first on a second deck home run by Cespedes.
Beautiful form, hands in proper position, hits the ball out front, lets go with one hand, and almost hurts a patron.
That Mets home run means $2,000, enough for No Kid Hungry to provide 20,000 meals courtesy of City. 17 home runs now for Cespedes. Breaking ball by Ray. 2-2 to Flores.
Look at the bat speed here. Swoosh. I mean, from point where he gets it in place to through the hitting zone, about as good as you get.
Now 7 for 10 in this series. And Flores strikes out on an up and away fastball. 7 strikeouts for Robbie Ray.
You know, I was lucky enough to play with Darryl Strawberry, and through the hitting zone, he had some kind of bat speed. Cespedes rivals that at times. He pushes off that back foot, so by the time he makes contact, that back foot's off the ground, and then replaces it.
I mean, I guess you'd call that complete weight transfer, right?
Yeah, of course. He's getting all that power from his backside and back leg as he sits next to Jay Reese Familia into the ball. That's the back foot from the overhead. I mean, just transfers that from the back leg to the front leg. The front leg is where he made contact, and that's why you have that laser beam.
Rosario flying to right his first time up. Cespedes has raised his batting average 19 points in the last 6 days. 271 to 290. Rosario fouls off the curveball. .2 coming, and he bangs one right back to Ray, who can't find it, now locates it and throws him out. So Ray, who was struck in the head in his last start, his first start back, has one hit back at him to the lower part of his body.
Well, the ball's a one hopper. See how he follows through He follows through across his front side. Ball came back and hit him from behind. So that's maybe why he lost it.
But I guess my biggest question is not about whether he's hurt, because I'm sure he's fine. It's about psychologically, after you're coming back from having that ball hit at you and having had it, you know, knock you out, to have another one come back at you. What does that feel like?
Well, I think if it had been on the line, Gary, it would be something I'd be more concerned about. That it was hit on the ground, I think that's why you saw the laugh. But Torey Lovullo came straight out because he wanted to, I guess, judge the temperature of his pitcher. But he seems fine. It was strange. It hit him from behind, and I don't know if it hit his backside, but
I think it got him lower on the leg.
Okay.
It's the worst kind of deja vu, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, here's Dominic Smith, who flied out his first time up. The good part for Ray there was that he had the wherewithal to be able to collect himself, find the baseball, and get an out. And he couldn't really dawdle because he had Rosario going down the line. Smith flies one to shallow right center. Here comes Martinez, and that retires the side. But Yoenis Cespedes has given the Mets the first lead of the day. One solidly hit home run, 1-0 Mets. Local Ford dealers, the Ford Summer Sales event is on. For big savings, go to buyfordnow.com. Rafael Montero staked to the lead after the Cespedes home run. 1-0 as we start the fifth. Brandon Drury leads off for Arizona. He took a call third strike his first time up. And a first pitch slider off the plate for ball one. Drury, then Ray Fuentes and Chris Herman, 6, 7, and 8 in the Diamondbacks batting order. Montero's given up just one hit through the first 4 innings. He gets the slider in for a strike. He's walked 2. He's struck out 5. Turning in another fine effort so far this afternoon.
One thing I've noticed from Montero the last 3 starts is that a delay on the mound, and he's calling his own game because he's shaking off some signs. That's something you never saw when he first came up. So really starting to take ownership of his games, which I love. Shook it off, shook it off. Okay, that's what he wants to throw.
You know, we talked a lot when they were teaming up about the impact that Rene Rivera had on him within games. But do you think there's carryover, that what he might have learned from Rivera is now helping him now that he's working with a new catcher?
Oh, of course, of course.
Hit sharply, comes up nicely for Rosario, and he throws out Drury, 1 away. Sunday, September 10th is McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Reds at 1:10 p.m. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a Mets fidget spinner presented by PC Richard & Son. Plus, all kids 12 and under can run the bases after the game in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays.
If you work with a very good defensive catcher, they can sometimes give you a blueprint to how to be successful. And once you kind of tap into that, you take that with you with whatever catcher that you work with. So, you know, I was lucky enough to pitch to Gary Carter. You know, he was the most amazing guy, knew the National League. So when Mackey Sasser or someone else would catch and they would call a pitch that I knew Gary Carter wouldn't call in that situation, I'd shake him off.
Fuentes bangs one to center for the Diamondbacks' second hit of the day. Well, let me ask you this, because you didn't work with Gary till '85.
That's
so
right.
You had already had a year plus in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to compare your situation to Montero's. Montero's had big league time, had quite a bit of it before he started working regularly with Rivera. So did you feel before you got the expertise of Carter that maybe you didn't know as much about how to approach things?
I was lucky enough that Mike Fitzgerald was the catcher for many of my starts in '84. He had been my catcher in AAA, so we kind of grown together. So we were on the same page a lot. But Mike had only he wasn't fully formed yet. So when Gary came over, and this is before all the numbers, you know, and people have a lot more idea on how to get hitters out. Gary was the statistics. He was the sabermetrics. He knew the entire National League. So we butted heads for a while because he was so different than Fitzy. But then after you gain trust that, boy, what he's calling is gold, then it became easy.
Russ Herman takes a slider for a strike. Herman grounded out into the shift his first time up. Mets running the shift a little differently this time. Instead of Flores in the middle, they've got Cicchini there in a double play situation. You had 121 games with Carter, second most in your career, 92 with Terry Steinbach.
Oh yeah, because I went to the A's, and Terry caught every game, so that makes sense.
So when you got with Steinbach, he was a veteran before you got there.
You know, yeah, 2-3 year player maybe.
So who did you learn more then, or did you already know yourself well enough that you were calling everything yourself?
Well, that's an interesting question. I changed. You know, I wasn't the pitcher I once was. My game had changed. I didn't throw hard. I had to become more of a finesse pitcher. So it wasn't Terry Steinbach and it wasn't me. It was Dave Duncan who said, listen, you know that guy that pitched for the Mets in '86? You should say goodbye to him and bury him. He's no longer here. We need the pitch the way and the stuff that you have now. He's the one that changed it for me. And how he did that is that he's the one that gave the scouting report to Steinbach, and Steinbach called the game according to Duncan's kind of rules of engagement.
2-2 to Herman with Fuentes at first and 1 out. And Herman tries to lay off and stopped it in time. Full count. Interesting call here for Torey Lovullo. Tying run at first, 1 out. 3-2 count. Fuentes at first base has a little bit of speed.
You got to run him here.
Not going. Herman hits it to the vacated side of the infield, and that'll go through. Fuentes will pull in at second, and Cespedes charged it hard. So Herman that time taking advantage of the shift and hitting it through the vacated spot, and the Diamondbacks have 2 men on.
Well, off the end of the bat, so a lucky hit for Herman against Montero. It was a changeup away, way out in front. And that pitch 99% of the time is pulled to the right side unless it's off the end of the bat. So bad break for the Mets and Montero.
And a chance for Ray to come up and bunt. And the Mets looking around to see how they're going to set up their bunt defense. Got a lot of young players on that infield. You got 3 rookies at first, second, and short. You got a young player at third. Flores is the veteran out there flashing the signs.
Make sure you remind everyone out there while they're giving the signs, you have 1 out. Get an out in this situation. Don't be a hero and try to get the guy at third base.
Ray bunts it beautifully, and nobody goes for it. Flores now charges, and he gets him at first base. And we'll see if the Diamondbacks challenge this. It was a very close play, and it looked like Ray might have beaten it out.
Yeah, I had him safe at first base.
Mike Estabrook called him out, but Flores, whose responsibility it is to get to that ball, went back to the bag.
If it's bunted hard, Wilmer's got a charge, because Montero did not go to the third base side. What you're supposed to do as a pitcher, you release the pitch and go to the third base side. He did not. Once he did it, Wilmer had to come and get it and then play at first base. I don't even know what to say about that.
Not even close. I mean, Ray beat that by a full stride. I just don't know how the first base umpires are getting so many of these wrong. That was not close.
Been emasculated by replay. They don't even trust themselves anymore.
Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters, and this should take about 10 seconds, which it does, and they'll overturn it, and it'll be an infield hit for Ray, but a mistake by Flores creating it.
You have to know going in, this is the most important thing. Forget about third base. If it's right back at the pitcher, then yes, you take the out at third base. You got 1 out. Get 2 outs, and then you only have to get 1 guy to get out of the inning. It's a very simple formula that maybe should have been talked about more before the play happened.
Well, it's exactly what you said right before the pitch. Make sure you get out, and it's the thing that the Mets did not do.
And you pointed out it's a very young infield, but Wilmer is the veteran. He's got to take charge.
So now the bases are loaded on base hits by the 7, 8, 9 hitters. Only 1 ball hit hard. That was Fuentes, who laced a single to center. Herman with a roller off the end of the bat that went through the vacated space, and now the bunt hit by Ray to load him up for Gregor Blanco.
But there's a way out of this inning if you're Montero. Polanco and Marte, good players, but guys that can be pitched to. But you got to get them out so you don't get to Lynn, Goldschmidt, and Martinez. That's the key in this inning now.
Well, we talked last night about Wilmer Flores and his future and whether the Mets will find a spot for him, and defense has always been the challenging part of the game for Wilmer. Blanco, a tough man to double up, still runs well at age 33 and takes the changeup out of the strike zone 1-1.
I think it might be a lesson learned for Terry, though. I think as you move along in late August and September, in that instant, he might have to start coming out, gathering the infielders around, and delivering the sermon on what you have to do in this situation.
Blanco hits one toward the middle. That's a base hit. In comes Fuentes. Herman will stop at third, and the Diamondbacks have tied the game. So the 4th straight hit for Arizona. Gregor Blanco with the RBI single, and it's 1-1.
Well, the Mets got ahead on the Cespedes home run, but the extra outs given up costs them here. Good hitting by Blanco, and of course, after last night, no one taking any chances on Lagares. Looking over his shoulder is Herman, but he's going nowhere.
So Tony Perez-Chica had long since made up his mind to stop him. So a run is in. Here's Ketel Marte, who has singled and walked today, and he grounds the first pitch slider foul. So you had talked about earlier in the game, Ronnie, the next step for Montero, how he handles the difficult innings.
You know, how you limit the damage is always the most important thing in maturity and growth, because pitchers, just like hitters, you get a little fidgety out there.
Fly ball out to left center. Lagares is going to come over. Let Cespedes take it. Herman's going to try to score. The throw by Cespedes is not a good one, and the Diamondbacks take the lead. Sacrifice fly for Marte, and it's 2-1 Arizona.
Well, this is almost going to sound blasphemous, but the angle for Lagares coming in on that ball is a little easier for him to have some momentum and throw than it is for the flat-footed Cespedes. And so the catcher Herman was able to take advantage of the throw that was awry.
Well, Lagares wanted that ball, but as he approached, he realized that Cespedes was taking charge of it, and so he pulled up.
I mean, Cespedes didn't do anything wrong. It's just that Lagares had more of a running kind of momentum. Might have been able to get a little more on the throw.
Would be going toward his throwing side rather than toward his glove hand side. So 2 runs are in, and now Jake Lamb with 2 out and 2 on, and a must-have out for Montero against a very dangerous left-hand power hitter. Lamb is lined into a double play, and then it'll fly ball to right. Pitcher Ray is running at second. Blanco at first with 2 out, and it's popped up. Cicchini and Rosario, and it's Rosario who puts it away to retire the side. So a good job by Montero to limit the damage to just 2 runs halfway through. 2-1 Arizona. Cespedes broke the ice with a home run in the 4th. Diamondbacks scratched out a pair in the 5th against Rafael Montero. 2-1 Arizona as we go to the bottom of the 5th. Lots of kids in the ballpark today for the noontime start. All Big Bird's friends are here.
What happens when you have a different color shirt? Are you like a counselor?
Leader. Yeah.
Leader.
Yeah. It's like being the crossing guard. When you get the sash.
I had the orange vest.
Doesn't get you a lot of love, that orange bat.
Oh boy. Straight to Nerdsville.
Kevin Plawecki leads off in the home fifth. Robbie Ray with the lead for the first time. Now the issue is going to be how far Ray can go into this game. Torey Lovullo had said 90 pitches before today's start. His first time back in almost a month. See how solid a number that is. The Cespedes home run is the Mets' only hit against Ray through the first 4 innings. He's walked 1. He's struck out 7. Pretty much of a piece the way he's always pitched against the Mets. And the grunting continues. Gavin Cecchini on deck, then the pitcher's spot for the Mets in the fifth. Curveball bounces in. 2-2. Well, Giancarlo Stanton just hit his 47th home run.
Don't say it. Jeez.
47. It's August 24th. Up foul. Herman gives a look. It's out of play.
See his wide stance a la Santana, like Johan Santana that Gary said. Very smooth, high leg kick, and then a hard plant for this young lefty who throws 95 plus. Hands right at the belt.
By the way, in that game in Philadelphia, not only has Stanton hit his 47th, but Rhys Hoskins hit his 8th. Now you remember when Rhys Hoskins made his debut, it was against the Mets.
Wasn't he over?
He couldn't get a hit. Now he's hitting a home run every time up.
Well, you got to see him in about 10 days, so.
See if he can stay that hot. 7th pitch of the at bat coming to Plawecki. That's drilled foul.
Boy, look at that hole. That's both Montero and Ray probably pitching from the same part of the rubber. So it's getting worn down a la high school style.
Now, if you're the two pitchers who are digging that hole, do you want it filled in, or are you happy with it the way it is?
It depends if you're the kind that bothers. I know that whenever I used to pitch against Oral Hershiser, he was very particular about his mound, and so he spent half the game with the grounds crew out there fixing it because he liked it to have it nice and flat.
9th pitch to Plawecki, and it's outside, ball 4. So a terrific turn at bat for Plawecki, and he gets aboard to start the 5th. Second walk given up by Ray. See all the hot moments from some of the top high school ballers as SNY and Overtime team up to bring you the best New York City hoops highlights all summer long. Check it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Did you ever visit Rucker Park to see some games in the summer?
When I was much younger.
Yeah, I never have. I've always wanted to.
155th Street and 8th Avenue.
That's right.
Right where the Polo Grounds used to be. Gavin Cecchini lined out to third his first time up. You got Montero on deck. Quickly 0-2 to Cecchini. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question first. Meant to reach 100 stolen bases. Darrell McKinley Harrelson on this date 43 years ago.
I always get a nice smile whenever Buddy's the answer to any of our trivia questions.
You know he was my favorite growing up. Number 3.
He was one of my favorites when I was growing up.
That's pulled past Land this time and into left field. And Cicchini's got a base hit. So a couple of bullets by Cicchini. First one right at the third baseman. This one past him, and the Mets have the first 2 men on.
Well, Cicchini's had the best approach against Robbie Ray. You know what's interesting? We've watched the level swing and the ability to go up and stay on top of the high fastball. It's one of the strengths of Cicchini. So Ray plays right into that. On top, see that top hand? He's just trying to roll it over to stay on top.
So now Montero will be asked to do something he hasn't done in 3 years, and that is get a bunt down. Last sacrifice came in 2014.
Now this is a little different here for the Diamondbacks with a 1-run lead. They've got Goldschmidt, who has 2 Gold Gloves, and he's charging as hard as you can charge from first base. And he wants to pull a Keith Hernandez.
Well, he's playing the Anthony Rizzo position.
He is. What he wants to do is charge hard enough that if the ball's at the pitcher or even to the pitcher's right towards third base, he wants to make that play, and with his momentum going, get the force out at third base.
Montero fouls off the bunt.
Best way to counter that, if you're Montero, you're always told to bunt to third base in this situation. That's a given. But if you have a first baseman charging that hard, you bunt it down the first base line, because he can't change the way he's coming in and get there and still make the play at third.
Well, if he was a little better hitter,
yeah, well,
he'd sure be tempted to have him slash one away. I mean, Goldschmidt is so close. Now it's 1-2. Well, you have to keep the bunt on, don't you?
Well, you have to keep the bunt on because you don't want him swinging away and somehow hitting a ground ball somewhere. And there's 2 outs instead of 1. Of course, you're hoping for somehow Rafael to get the bunt down.
He lays off, and it's 2-2. Lagares in the leadoff spot on deck. Mets had a 1-0 lead. Diamondbacks took the lead in the top of the inning. Mets try and get it right back. First 2 men on in the home 5th. And Montero fouls it off for strike 3. 8th strikeout for Ray. So Montero still without a sacrifice since 2014. And that's a piece of game that he needs to work on.
Yes, it is.
So now it's Lagares, who has struck out and walked. Juan is just 1 for 10 in this series. Plawecki at second, he walked. Cicchini at first, he singled. Ray up to 85 pitches and nobody up yet in the Diamondbacks bullpen. So it's not looking like that 90 is a hard cap, although they do have some moving around out there now, and somebody might be getting up momentarily. Fouls back the fastball 0-2. You can certainly see a scenario where Ray gets Lagares and Conforto, and then that's it, with right-hand hitters after that.
Yeah, I don't think he faces Cespedes again, in my opinion.
To Lagares, and he bounces one toward third. Lamb takes it to the bag. The running throw not in time. So they get just the force for the second out.
Good play by Lamb. Easy play for the force. Took a little right hop there, but it didn't matter with the speed of Lagares. Not close.
So now 2 out and 2 on, and Conforto coming up. Ray has taken care of Conforto so far. He's been up twice, struck him out both times. 2 of the 8 strikeouts for Ray through 4 2/3 innings. Cicchini at second, Lagares at first. And Conforto takes up an end, ball 1.
Yeah, he's been able to keep that ball up in the zone to Conforto. If you're Conforto, easier said than done. Just want to pitch down from Ray, and he'll do some damage.
Mets are 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position so far today. David Hernandez up in the Diamondbacks bullpen. And the slider off the plate. 2-0.
Boy, that was a great take on a tough pitch. Slider away. Could have went either way. Could have called it and didn't.
Figures to be Ray's last batter either way, so his only chance to qualify for a win is to get Conforto out. And he comes inside, and Conforto hurt himself.
And that's bad. That's almost like he cracked his shoulder or something on that swing. Like dislocated it or something. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Wow. Took a swing and just went down in great pain. And he's not going to put any pressure on that left arm, and he'll come right out of the game, and they will take him for treatment. In a season rife with injuries, another discomforting moment for anybody who follows this ball club.
This is slow motion, up and in, and the follow through. See how he let go of the bat, and his arm kind of like went right across and all the way to his back, like it overextended that follow through of the left shoulder.
I'm with you, Ronnie. I've never seen anything like that before.
Worst thing I've ever seen on a field was Dave Dravecky many years ago when he broke his arm making a pitch. It wasn't similar to that, but almost as eerie.
It's almost like he lost control of that arm, like something happened in the midst of the swing.
In an athletic move, there's an acceleration and a deceleration, and there was no deceleration there.
Exactly. So Brandon Nimmo is going to come up and pick up the turn at bat from Conforto, but that was just another blow to this team that has suffered so many this year, and we'll hope for the best. And he's got to be thinking, how many more?
Can't even look at the field.
So Nimmo picks up the at bat with a 2-1 count, with 2 on and 2 out. takes a cut, 2-2. Nimmo last night was on base 4 times with a double and 3 walks. Sat today against the lefty, but forced into action here with the injury to Conforto. Good take by Nimmo on a full count. Now put the runners in motion. Cicchini at second. Lagares at first will be moving. Three-2 from Ray. And it's in there. Call third strike. Inning over. 9th strikeout for Robbie Ray, who strands a couple after the injury to Conforto. That brought a hush to a Thursday afternoon crowd at Citi Field. An uncomfortable moment and a painful one for Conforto in a season filled with them for the New York Mets. Brandon Nimmo will stay in the game to play right field after the injury to Michael Conforto. We'll get word as quick as we can about Conforto and the nature of his injury. Paul Goldschmidt leading off the 6th inning against Montero, shoots one toward the middle. Rosario dives but can only knock it down, and Goldschmidt has an infield hit.
You know, it's a couple times in this series that we've seen this, is that it's almost like Rosario's too quick for his own good. He over dives on this ball, meaning that he had it in his sights, but if you watch him, it kind of goes under his armpit, not under his glove. So he gets past it, hits the bottom off his glove, and then goes underneath his midsection.
It's funny because they talk about coming from the minor leagues and adjusting to the speed of the game, and at the same time you have to slow yourself down.
That's
right. It sounds oxymoronic, but it's true.
It's the high wire act that you have to kind of figure out.
6th hit against Montero. A couple of soft hits conspired to put the Diamondbacks in front in the last inning. Now Goldschmidt runs. Plawecki's throw is too late, and Goldschmidt has a stolen base, his 17th of the year.
Fell asleep there, the Mets. fastball right there. Martinez takes it to allow Goldschmidt to run. Quick release from Plawecki, but not a lot on it. And Goldschmidt stole the bag on Montero. Just had a big jump.
17th of the year, just his second in August. And so Goldschmidt puts himself in a scoring position. And Martinez pops it up. Rosario waving everybody else away. 1 out. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz has a game break brought to you by your Tri Honda dealers. Well, he says the number he's shooting at is 61. 61 might be within his sights.
Yes, absolutely.
There's Brandon Drury, who has struck out and grounded out 0 for 2. Goldschmidt at second and 1 out. Skips in, ball 1. Plawecki on instructions from the dugout heads out to the mound. That's how bullpen action going.
They want to get someone loose and ready.
Well, you got Smoker up in the bullpen. You got the left-hand hitter Fuentes on deck. So this could be the last man for Montero. Slider in for a strike. 1-1. Drury looking for his first hit in the series. Gone 0 for 8.
Goldschmidt was trying to measure stealing third base right there.
If you pay him no attention, he will.
There you go. And everyone in the ballpark saw it. Mets bench saw it. So the twirl around there by Montero. Cicchini just should give one hard move when Montero gets to the top. One hard move in there. Let Goldschmidt make one move back and then go.
Drury broke his bat. New lumber. Interesting looking grip on that bat that Drury has in his hands now. Wrapping paper.
It's that tape that a lot of the players like to use now. Comes in all different styles.
I think you can use that at Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice for the season. 1-2 coming, and it's off the outside corner. 2-2. So Montero threw 91 pitches in 6 innings against Miami his last start. About to throw his 100th pitch, and looks like he'll have trouble getting through 6 innings today. Two. Tied him up, but it missed inside. Full count. Fuentes on deck. Most pitches Rafael's thrown in a game this year is 104. Cicchini keeping his eye on Goldschmidt at second. 3-2 to Drury, and it's golfed into right. That's going to fall for a base hit. Goldschmidt got a good jump. He's heading home, and he'll score without a throw. Brandon Drury with his first hit in the series. It drives in a run, and it's 3-1 Arizona.
Well, the stolen base by Goldschmidt, played to run. Not a lot of balls hit hard by Montero in this game, and it's cost him. This ball sawed off to right field, drops in front of Nimmo, and Goldschmidt got an outstanding read. Knew that it was not hit hard, saw the read, put his head down and ran.
Well, that's going to be all for Rafael Montero. Out after 5 1/3, pitched a lot better than what his numbers are going to look like today. Down 3-1, Smoker will come in. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. SNY is brought to you by Budweiser. Look for the Budweiser team at Citi Field this season for your chance to be the Budweiser fan of the game and win unique prizes just like these lucky winners. Must be 21 and over. Josh Smoker into pitch. First pitch. Ray Fuentes grounds a single into right. Drury goes first to third. And just like that, Josh Smoker gets greeted by a Ray Fuentes base hit. Meanwhile, we have a medical report on Michael Conforto. Conforto suffered a dislocated left shoulder. So if it's just a dislocated left shoulder, that's not as serious as it could have been.
Yeah, I've had a few of them. You know, they just put it back into place probably as we speak, but it's extremely, I'm talking about extremely painful.
There's Chris Herman with first and third and one out. Herman had a base hit and scored his last time up, and Plawecki does a nice job knocking down that pitch in the dirt. I guess the first thing that Met fans are going to want to know is it a season-ending injury?
Well, this is the problem. Is you know, I only have the history of myself. Is that when you have that kind of injury, you can tend to be more prone to that injury.
Right.
So that's the thought that has to go into it. Boy, I would be very cautious.
Yeah.
I would.
Well, there's no reason not to be cautious.
Yeah.
I mean, the nature of this season being what it is right now, you'd have to think that unless he is able to bounce back and be 100%, there's no reason to even think about bringing him back. But we'll see. That everybody fears is the separated shoulder.
Yes.
So that was not the case here. It was diagnosed as a dislocated shoulder. 1-1 to Herman. Adam Rosales out on deck to pinch hit. And that's a call strike.
You know, unless there's contact on the field, it's. I got mine in football. You never really think of a dislocated shoulder happening in baseball, especially from a baseball swing. So that unusual part of the injury kind of scares me.
Well, that will bring up a very interesting question that I don't know the answer to. There goes the runner. The pitch is a strike. Throw by Plawecki is not in time. The runner holds at third. So it's a stolen base for Fuentes, his third of the year, as Herman struck out for the second out.
Third stolen base for the Diamondbacks this afternoon.
The question is going to be, you know, Conforto's got a football background as well. I wonder whether he's ever dislocated his shoulder before.
That's an interesting question.
Because as you say, and Rosales will be intentionally walked, and they'll bring up the left-hand hitter Blanco with the bases loaded. Because as you say, guys who get dislocated shoulders tend to get them more than once.
Yes. And that's what happened to me, and it came in football, and it came from tackling. I know Michael was, I think, a middle linebacker when he was a kid, so we don't want to speculate.
No, it's just something that obviously is an obvious question about his medical history, whether he's ever done it before or whether this is the first time, because I'm sure that will inform how they treat it going forward as well.
You're right.
Here's Gregor Blanco at a base hit to drive in the first Diamondbacks run, and he takes a slider off the plate from Smoker. So Montero went 5 1/3, allowed 7 hits, 3 runs so far, responsible for 1 more. He walked 2, struck out 5.
Game is within reach, but Smoker needs to get an out here.
First appearance of the series for Josh, who looked like he balked.
Almost.
He moved the glove, but then he stepped off.
He had a little trouble getting his foot out of that in front of the rubber. We talked about the hole is a little deeper. Almost caught a cleat. Yeah, it's just that everything. It was so quick, but everything just did not look right.
Well,
there's
that
that
may
hole.
be something the grounds crew needs to work on now that the starters are out of the game. And there's the strike, 2-1. Drury at third, Fuentes at second, Rosales at first. And Blanco fouls it off, and Smoker gets back to 2-2. Vital Marte would be next. To Blanco. Slider in the dirt, full count.
Good stop by Plawecki, slider away. See how the ball, when it has that slider spin, when it hits the ground, it comes back to the catcher. So you don't want to over slide out on a breaking ball.
So now the merry-go-round will be in motion. Drury, Fuentes, and Rosales will be running. And Blanco strikes out on the fastball to end the inning. So Smoker comes in and puts out the fire. Diamondbacks get 1 and lead 3-1. First start back from a trip to the disabled list for a concussion, and he was terrific. Allowed just a Yoenis Cespedes home run over 5 innings, struck out 9. Rafael Montero got pecked to death, and in 5 1/3 gave up 3 runs, 7 hits. Mets box score presented by Empire City Casino. The Cespedes home run, the Cicchini single, and that's it for the Mets. Most notable, Michael Conforto leaving the game with a dislocated left shoulder. Hurt it on a swing. Now the Diamondbacks go to their bullpen. David Hernandez in again.
After being reacquired, he's been used very often by the Diamondbacks. 3rd appearance for Hernandez in this 4-game series.
Cespedes is accounted for the only Met run with a second deck home run to left field in the 4th inning. His 17th of the year. Now facing the right-hander Hernandez. Hernandez worked a 1-2 worked a scoreless inning last night, but he gave up a ball hit over the center field fence by Travis d'Arnaud that A.J. Pollock brought back. Cespedes taking all the way 2-0. Wilmer Flores on deck, then Ahmed Rosario, all right-hand hitters for Hernandez here in the 6th. Jason Bradford hanging out in the Mets bullpen. Cespedes works the count to 3-0. Andrew Chafin, the lefty, up in the Diamondbacks pen.
Cespedes 2 days ago had a base hit on a 3-0 count.
Might be looking to launch here. But he's taking it. It's 3-1.
Now, 2 seasons ago and much of last season, that's what you saw from Cespedes. Never missed those bad breaking balls.
Takes this one the other way, driving it out to Martinez. It's over his head and off the base of the wall. Cespedes just locked in right now. He pulled a home run. Now he goes the other way and strafes a double.
Well, we've seen for much of the season the ball away he's not been able to handle or hit with authority. And this one, just a bullet over the head of Martinez, who was playing about as deep as you can play and still couldn't get there.
8 for 11, make it 9 for 8 for 11 in the series for Cespedes. I mean, this is as hot as he's been all year. So the Mets get the tying run to bat with Wilmer Flores, who is 0 for 1 today. That's the layoff, but he went around. Play these 4-game series, you get awfully familiar with the opposing bullpens.
Whether you like it or not.
Line toward the middle, but there's Marte to pick it for the first out.
Well, they had Robbie Ray on a pitch count. He was outstanding this afternoon, so you know you were going to see a lot of this Diamondback bullpen at some point.
So now Rosario, who has flied out and hit a comebacker. His comebacker struck Ray on the leg. Nap time. Mets are now 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position this afternoon. Rosario looking to change that trend with Cespedes at second and 1 out. Takes a hack at a fastball, 0-1. Dom Smith on deck. They've got the lefty up in the bullpen ready for him if needed. Lifted foul, that'll go out of play. Thirty-two-year-old David Hernandez in his second tour of duty with the Diamondbacks. And getting plenty of work. Looking around to see where his infielders are going to play. You just never know.
Most important is that Goldschmidt's so far off the line. He's got to cover on anything to the right side.
And Rosario flails at the slider for strike 3. That's the second out of the inning.
Watch his back foot on the slider swing. See how it kind of retreats to the Diamondbacks dugout as he's flailing at that slider.
So with the left-hand hitter up, Torey Lovullo will make a pitching change. Andrew Chafin will come into the game. 3-1 Arizona in the 6th. We'll be right back.
High fly ball deep to center field. Back goes Finley going back. Warning track at the wall. Jumping and it's out of here. It's out of here. The Mets win the ball game on a home run over the center field fence by Todd Pratt.
It's 18 years ago, Ronnie. 18 years ago.
This is a little personal, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Has your voice changed a little bit? Like your voice is richer, fuller, deeper.
I think that's our audio guys.
Oh, is it audio? Oh, okay, okay.
Don't tell Madge I said that. Andrew Chafin in to pitch to Dominic Smith, who takes a strike. I don't know, maybe. I haven't really thought about that.
I don't know. It seemed to me, but
I think it was maybe just the excitement of the moment.
What a great call.
Well, the great thing about that moment was that nobody in the ballpark other than Steve Finley, and maybe even he, knew whether he caught the ball or not.
Yeah, because the way he looked in his glove, I think because, one, Finley was very good at robbing home runs, very good at that.
Right.
And then two, I think he was just shocked that it didn't go in his glove.
There was at Shea Stadium, right in front of the fence where Finley went back, as Smith rolls one down to first, a little indentation in the ground.
Depression.
And he stepped in that hole, and so he didn't go as high as he normally would have, which is why he didn't catch the ball. Much to Todd Pratt's delight. After 6, 3-1 Arizona. By your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Josh Smoker stays in to pitch the 7th inning. Ketel Marte has had a good day at the plate. A blue pit, a stolen base, a walk, a sacrifice fly. Officially 1 for 1. Jake Lamb on deck. Marte rolls one foul, and it's 0-2. Rafael Montero went 5 1/3, allowed 3 runs, 7 hits. Walked 2 and struck out 5. He's on the hook in this game. Probably deserved better. Smoker came in, got a couple outs in the 6th. And buries that splitter in the dirt. 1-2.
It's a little change for Smoker, huh? From that circle change he was throwing earlier in the year that had a little success initially, and then boy, got hit around a little bit. So
popped up, playable for Smith if he can find it in the sun, and he does. No sunglasses required. 1 out. Let's check in with the studio. Jonas Schwartz does another game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health. Jonas, you know who also has a home run today? 11 in August. Gary Sanchez. I think the Mets got him going.
Yeah.
Here's Jake Lamb, who's 0 for 3 today.
Or maybe that famous lunch he had. That with the Mets.
With A-Rod and J-Lo?
Alex, yeah.
Hit toward the middle, and Lamb's got a base hit. Just his 2nd hit in the series, and the 2nd hit given up by Smoker. And that's going to be all for Smoker with Goldschmidt coming up. Mets want a right-hander in the game. So Smoker goes an inning and he'll take his exit. 3-1 Arizona in the 7th. Pitching change for the Mets. Bradford coming in. We'll be right back. You know, we were featuring the kids, but a couple of those big guys, you know, horned in on that little montage. Still, Chase and Bradford comes in.
Still think they're kids. 8 2/3, a scoreless ball for Chase and Bradford, but he hasn't pitched since Saturday, so he's had a lot of time off.
First appearance in this series, he faces Paul Goldschmidt, who had an infield hit, stole a base, and scored a run in the 6th. 1 for 2 today. But this has not been Goldschmidt's best ballpark. Ronnie alluded to this earlier. Goldschmidt's lifetime average at Citi Field is .240, which is his second worst of any ballpark. And the one that was worse, he won't get any better because it was Turner Field.
Oh, okay.
So, unless he plays football against Georgia State.
He could.
And Goldschmidt gets tied up. Did he swing? He did not. 2-1. Well, Bradford's been a very pleasant surprise. I don't think anybody had him on the radar as far as being a contributor this year, but he's thrown at 8 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings and continues to throw strikes and get outs, much the way Paul Sewald has.
Yeah, 11 saves in AAA, so you know he has the constitution to deal with pitching later in the game. But you're right, not overpowering stuff, but not afraid to pitch to contact.
He throws one by Goldschmidt. It's 2-2. Well, the Mets bullpen is going to be enhanced tomorrow. Some of the best news the Mets have had in a long time. Jeurys Familia will make his return to the active roster tomorrow when the Mets go to Washington. Terry Collins was asked whether Familia will go directly into the 9th inning role. He said he'll probably ease him back in. Slider misses 3-2. But the Mets now will have two guys who are capable of closing games with Familia and A.J. Ramos.
And it's funny how that stuff happens. You know, Ramos might pitch a couple days in a row and you move Familia in there. But I think you'd like to have the ability to have Familia start an inning and not come in with people on base.
Lamb runs. Goldschmidt fouls it off. So Lamb running on a 3-2 pitch with one out. Lamb was running on the first 3-2 pitch. And he's running again. And Goldschmidt just got a piece to stay in the at bat. Smoker worked an inning, gave up 2 hits and an intentional walk. Responsible for Lamb at first base. Mets scored first in this game on a Cespedes home run in the 4th. Diamondbacks with 2 in the 5th and 1 in the 6th. 8th pitch coming to Goldschmidt. Lamb runs again and Goldschmidt fouls it off again.
Wind sprints for Jake Lamb.
Well, some guys get their workout going across the field in the shift. Some guys get their workout running on 3-2 pitches.
Good at bat by Goldschmidt, but you expect that.
He's drawn 81 walks this year. Only 2 hitters in the league have drawn more. And he struck him out. Throw by Plawecki. Lamb is tagged out. Strike him out. Throw him out. Double play ends the inning. So Bradford kept going after Goldschmidt. He gets him. And then Plawecki gets his man as well. Good sinker by Bradford. Good throw by Plawecki. And Cecchini slaps on the tag. Mets down 3-1. Kevin Plawecki will lead off in the home 7th inning against Andrew Chafin, who got the final out in the 6th. Let's go to the Bud Light Landing, and Steve Gelbs' report today is brought to you by Bud Light. Steve?
Well, Gary, you were talking a little bit about the Nationals earlier in the game. Mets head there for a 4-game set this weekend, and among the changes from the last time the Mets have seen the Nationals is their bullpen. That bullpen, when we were in Washington right before the All-Star break, was really the biggest problem threatening to derail the season for the Nationals. But they made some trades before the trade deadline, added Ryan Madson, who's now injured, but Sean Doolittle and Brandon Kinsler, and it has remade that bullpen since August 2nd. They have the second lowest ERA in the National League out of the bullpen. Doolittle 12 for 12 in save opportunities. Kinsler just 1 run given up in 11 appearances.
And they're very worried about Madson. He's got a sprained finger that does not seem to be responding to any kind of treatment. Well, that puts a little crimp in that revamped bullpen.
It's really nothing you can do for a sprained finger other than rest.
Well, they just have to get all their guys healthy. And that's really their only function over these last 5.5 weeks. 2-2 to Plawecki.
Well, you think about it. If you sprain your ankle, right, you can tape it up, right, and you can play. You can't tape up the finger of the pitcher. You know, I mean, that's how it goes.
Well, they've got Scherzer nursing a sore neck. They just got Strasburg back from the DL. He's going to make his second start since returning tonight against Houston. Strasburg against Dallas Keuchel in Houston tonight. Worth and Turner should be back fairly soon. They've both been out for a long time. Harper, though, is a huge question mark because he's got that bone bruise on his knee and still limping, and nobody's quite sure just how long it's going to take for him to come back.
You know, it's coming back. It's getting back in the swing of things. It's getting back to playing 100%.
And by the time Harper's ready to come back, the minor league season may well be over, which means it makes it that much harder to go down and get yourself back into playing condition.
Good point. Have to go into a struggle league. It's instructional ball. Sorry, folks.
I like that, in struggle league.
Oh man,
that's good.
First time I went to instructional league, I won't say who the pitcher was, but the Texas Rangers had a pitcher that had trouble throwing a breaking ball, so they put a batting cage behind the plate, and he would be on a field by himself practicing his breaking ball to throw it into the batting cage, because sometimes he would throw it over the backstop, like Len Barker style.
Wow. Milwaukee tries to hold, and did. 3-2.
Didn't like his chances once I saw that.
No. Well, you know, they've tried unconventional methods with certain pitchers to get them locked in. I don't know if you remember this when Pedro Martinez was in Montreal and was hitting batters regularly. Plawecki sucks one to center, and that'll fall for a hit. Second straight graded bat, and that gets behind Fuentes, and Plawecki will get an extra base. Well, Plawecki worked a 9-pitch walk in the 5th inning, another 9-pitch plate appearance, and this time he gets a base hit and advances on the error by Fuentes.
Well, there's many bad parts to this play. One, Fuentes has got to catch that baseball. I don't know where he was playing Plawecki. Plawecki is not a power hitter as of yet, and he lets it drop in front of him, and then he plays it into a short hop. If you're going to let it drop in front of you, you've got to play it into the big hop. But that's a catchable ball.
So the Mets have a leadoff man on for the 4th straight inning, and here's Cicchini, who's hit the ball hard twice, lined out to third, and then lined a base hit to left. And he takes a fastball strike. That's Drupal Cabrera out on deck to pinch hit with the pitcher's spot next. Anyway, when Pedro was with the Expos, they would put him down in the bullpen and get a cardboard cutout of a hitter and put it in the batter's box so that he could practice not hitting people without anybody being in danger.
When the Mets pitchers in spring training, we would put the same scarecrow up and work on hitting batters.
Somehow that makes perfect sense,
doesn't it?
It's kind of like what you once said about the police escort.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really work on your own guys, you know, with that drill.
You guys march to a different beat.
Gary, it was one of those strange things. Now you know my personality. If everyone loves something, I'm on the other train, you know. But you had to buy in. If you didn't buy in, you couldn't be part of it. And it was a strange thing. You might have even had to buy in on that one. It would have been a tough one for you.
Yeah, so is the follow through of Andrew Chafin.
I like Chafin's stuff, by the way. Throws hard, and you can see the follow through. He kind of has that swing of the leg like a creaky door. A little WD-40, he'd be fine.
Plawecki at second and nobody out. Cicchini the tying run at the plate in a 3-1 game. And that's bounced in. 3-2. So Chafin going to back-to-back full counts to his first two hitters in the inning. Cabrera on deck to pinch hit. More action going in the Diamondbacks bullpen.
Because Robbie Ray only went 5 innings on a pitch count, you know, first start after getting hit with that line drive. Torey Lovullo is trying to get a little more out of Chafin than he usually would.
2/3 of an inning from Hernandez, a third so far from Chafin. 3-2 to Cicchini, and he walked him, and the Mets have the tying runs on base. Now what does Torey Lovullo do? You'd think he'd want a right-hander to face Cabrera, but it's not going to be Cabrera. He goes back in the dugout, and Matt Reynolds is going to come up instead. That might be to bunt. So wheels are turning here. Let's see what Lovullo does. He's coming out, and with Reynolds announced into the game, it appears he's going to bring the right-hander in. So Chafin is out after a third of an inning plus 2 batters in the 7th, and Archie Bradley, who has been dominating hitters all year, will come into the game. 3-1 Arizona in the 7th. We'll be right back to Citi Field.
Oh, come on. Hey,
all that working out, you can't open a water bottle?
oh, come on. What's it?
Sir, I think you got the wrong workout program.
Are you kidding? He's still after it?
He ought to ask for help. Come on, give it a try.
Oh, no, what I'd love if one of the ladies did it and just popped it open.
It was almost like it was staged. And it wasn't. It was for real. Archie Bradley on to pitch with the tying runs on base and nobody out. Matt Reynolds up there, and they look for the bunt. And he bunts it. Bradley can't get it. Goldschmidt, though, gets the out at third. It hung in the air long enough that Plawecki had to hold up. And so when it fell, Goldschmidt had enough time to get the lead man out.
That kind of bunt most of the time will work because it had enough air underneath it that the runner would have been safe at third easily. But there's nothing you can do for Plawecki. Once the ball's in the air, he's got to consider that the pitcher was going to make the catch.
Well, there was one casualty on the play. It was Archie Bradley's belt.
Yeah.
He broke his belt making the dive for that ball, and the bat boy just had to come out and bring him a new one. How does that happen?
Faulty belts. Well, he went for the dive here.
But how does that break your belt?
Think about it, though. If he doesn't dive for that, Plawecki has a better read, and he's probably safe at third base. But again, Goldschmidt with that hard charge makes that play look easy. That's why he's got the goal.
See, to me, if they're going to play Goldschmidt where they did on that play, as they did against Montero, and you got a hitter at the plate, you got to make Reynolds swing away.
Well, I agree, but 3-1, conservative play.
So now Lagares, first and second, one out after the 3-5 force play. And that's inside ball one.
One thing about Bradley the other night, he was wild. He was behind in the count, even though he wiggled out of some mess.
He worked an inning and 2/3. He walked his first two batters, gave up a run scoring hit to Cespedes, and then retired 4 in a row. I mean, from where Goldschmidt is, you can't even think about getting this bunt down.
See, the other thing you can do if you're smart about that is you bunt behind Goldschmidt. Just bunt behind him, because if he has to go to his left, he can't make the play at third base. I mean, that's got to be in the advanced scouting things for the Mets. I would hope.
2-0 to Lagares with the tying runs on base. And that's too high, and Bradley falls behind 3-0. Bradley has had himself a magical season after being moved from the rotation to the bullpen. He's only walked 13 batters this year, but 2 of them came in that game on Monday night. Nimmo on deck. He took Conforto's spot. Lagares has to take a pitch here. And it's ball 4, and that loads the bases. So Nimmo, who came in when Conforto dislocated his shoulder on a swing in the 5th inning, finished that at bat, and now will get the first one of his very own in a big spot in the 7th inning.
Mike Butcher out to talk to Bradley. Butcher's made a lot of visits out there, hasn't he? Well, we've seen it happen more than once. The player who's on the bench and gets thrown into action occasionally has a big day, and maybe Nimmo can come up with a big hit.
Nimmo took over the at bat from Conforto with a 2-1 count, wound up taking a 3-2 pitch for strike 3 in that 5th inning. Now can start from scratch in the 7th with the bases loaded and 1 out. Suck on the train, don't miss the game. Watch every SNY Mets game wherever you are on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Mets are 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Nimmo trying to bust that up with Cicchini at third, Reynolds at second, and Lagares at first. Good speed all the way around. And Nimmo takes a slider at his feet for ball 1.
Cespedes, who all of a sudden is raging hot, waits on deck. And Nimmo takes a fastball strike, 1-1. Wecky singled, Cicchini walked, Reynolds bunted into a force play, Lagares walked, bases loaded, 1 out. And Nimmo takes low and in, 2-1. One coming. Slice foul. 2-2. Archie Bradley, 7th overall pick in the 2011 draft, against Brandon Nimmo, 13th overall pick in the same draft. 2-2 coming. Misses badly. Full count. Well, this is Nimmo. Seems to have a 3-2 count every time he comes up there. In this series, he has taken a couple of call third strikes on close pitches. Might need to be a little more aggressive here. Bases loaded, 1 out. Nimmo slashes 1 foul. Brandon started last night on the leadoff spot and got on base all 4 times. From Bradley. And Nimmo bounces one slowly. Drury is going to have to go to first with it as a run comes home. And that cuts the Arizona lead to 3-2 as Cicchini scores. And the other runners move up to second and third. So Nimmo drives in the run. And now Cespedes will come up with first base open with Flores behind him. The way Cespedes is swinging right now, you'd have to certainly be tempted to walk him.
Tempted to walk him. You know, you got power against power. I'd walk him. I wouldn't take a chance right now. He's too good.
And they will give him the intentional pass. So after a home run and a double his last 2 at bats, and after watching Cespedes go 8 for 11 in this series, Torey Lovullo is going to take the bat out of his hands and hand it instead to Wilmer Flores with the bases loaded.
Remember, Lovullo had a chance in last night's ball game to walk Conforto with the base open. Didn't, and Conforto came through with a base hit. He doesn't take the same chance with Cespedes.
Well, Wilmer hit the ball hard his last time up, lined out to short, but he's 0 for 2 today, 0 for his last 13. Mets down a run in the 7th, bases loaded, 2 out. Takes one in tight, ball 1.
Interesting, in this series the Diamondbacks have really pitched Wilmer in a lot, and he's usually so quick in, but it hasn't been in this series.
And Flores with a big cut fouls it back, 1-1.
Bradley doesn't even look like the same pitcher velocity wise now that he's in the bullpen.
about 4 miles an hour harder than he did as a starter. Reynolds at third, Lagares at second, Cespedes at first with 2 out. One coming to Wilmer. And he takes one outside, 2-1. Wilmer has 3 career grand slams. He had 1 in 2014, 1 in 2015, 1 in 2016. He needs a mark on his dance card.
He's due.
He'd settle for a single. Single could give the Mets the lead. From Bradley, and Wilmer chases a high one, 2-2.
Hidden hitters count 2-1. No, the fastball is coming just out of the strike zone. Hard to believe that Bradley would go with anything but the same pitch.
Two coming. Struck him out. Bradley with heat fans Flores to leave him loaded, and the Mets settle for just 1 run in a base runner flooded 7th inning. After 7, 3-2 Arizona. But left him loaded. 3-2 Diamondbacks after Arizona took 2 of the first 3 in this series. A nice afternoon for the kids to enjoy a day game on a pleasant afternoon in New York. And now Eric Goodell will take over the pitching for the 8th inning.
Pitched the first game of this series in extra innings. Gave up that 10th inning 2-run home run to A.J. Pollock. They gave the Diamondbacks the victory.
Let's go back to that last at bat for Wilmer Flores against Archie Bradley.
Well, Wilmer worked it to the 2-0 count. Sorry, 2-1 count, and then he got a fastball that he swung through. And if you read that as a pitcher, you got to come back with the same pitch. And Bradley was able to execute it again and throw it by Wilmer.
J.D. Martinez leads off the 8th inning for Arizona. He's 0 for 3 today. 3 for 15 in the series, and he grounds one down to Flores, a foul ball. 0-1. Rafael Montero went the first 5 1/3 for the Mets. He's on the hook. He allowed 3 runs, 7 hits, and a lot of them were soft hits. Josh Smoker worked an inning, no runs, 2 hits. Chasen Bradford came in the 7th, got to strike him out, throw him out, double play, and now Goodell, the 4th Met pitcher of the day. He took the loss in the first game Monday night when he gave up the 10th inning home run to A.J. Pollock. And the curveball fooled Martinez badly, and it's 0-2. Brandon Drury on deck, and then Ray Fuentes for the Diamondbacks in the 8th inning. Splitter misses 1-2. Diamondbacks started the day a half game in front of the Rockies for the first wild card spot, and while Arizona has not played well the last couple of months, the Rockies have tailed off the last couple of weeks, losing 11 of their last 15, and they lost in excruciating fashion last night in Kansas City as Goodell strikes out Martinez for the first out. And what made it so bad for the Rockies is that they had Greg Holland, the former Royal, on the mound facing his old teammate Eric Hosmer, and Hosmer took Holland deep for a 3-run homer to win it in the bottom of the 9th.
Hosmer, of course, has been around a while, has had many a walk-off hit, never a walk-off homer till last night.
And to do it against a valued former teammate. And that kept Kansas City in good position in the American League wild card race. They're only a half game off the pace. Minnesota's holding down the 2nd spot behind the Yankees, with Kansas City and the Angels a half game behind, and the Mariners 1 game out. That crazy race just does not seem to be settling down.
And Minnesota's story is fantastic.
Well, they traded for help when they got Jaime Garcia. Then they gave up when they traded Garcia away.
And Kinsler.
And then they started playing great. And Bartolo Colon started kicking it in gear.
He's the wild card. They got so many young players there that their center fielder finally is starting to play like they think he can play.
Well, Byron Buxton has been at the top of everybody's prospect list for the last few years. The talent is enormous.
If you haven't seen him play, about as fast as you're going to get, and most people project him to be an Andrew McCutchen kind of player.
1-2 to Drury, and he grounds one to short. And Rosario's throw is true. 2 out. And then they have Miguel Sano, who hits the ball about as far as anybody.
Yeah, he's probably he's the reincarnation of what maybe David Ortiz was early in his career for the Twins, but the Twins didn't hold on to David.
Maybe they'll hold on to Sano a little better. So 2 out. Here is Ray Fuentes, who's 2 for 3 today. Singled twice, stole a base, scored a run.
Baseball on the field. There we go.
Coming up tonight at 10:30, it's Geico Sports Night. Giants, Jets, baseball, everything New York sports. Geico Sports Night, 10:30. Be there. Good splitter by Goodell, 1-1 to Fuentes. That Marlins Phillies game is now 8-8 in the 6th inning.
They were down Miami 8-3, maybe more.
Welcome to Citizens Bank Park. Real Muto just hit a 2-run homer to tie it. Another good splitter by Goodell, and it's 1-2 to Fuentes.
In the first game of the doubleheader yesterday, they had 9 home runs.
Day before yesterday.
Day before yesterday. Sorry.
Yeah, that one ended 12-8. And then there were 9 home runs hit in the Toronto-Tampa Bay game last night. Blue Jays hit 6 of them, and that counted for 7 whole runs. 1-2. And curveball misses 2-2. Blue Jays may not do much else well, but they hit a lot of home runs.
They do. Well, Smoke is having his breakout season.
2-2 from Goodell, and he struck him out with the splitter. 1-2-3 inning for Eric Goodell with a couple of strikeouts. That's 10 strikeouts from Met pitchers today. Ahmed Rosario leads off the bottom of the 8th with the Mets down by a run. Your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Last of the 8th inning, Mets down by a run. Ahmed Rosario leads off against Archie Bradley, who stumbled but did not fall in the 7th inning, and stays on for the 8th. And he gets the fastball into Rosario, who's 0 for 3 today. Flied out, banged one off the pitcher's leg and was thrown out, and then struck out. Rosario, then Dominic Smith and Kevin Plawecki in the bottom of the 8th. Nobody up in either bullpen. Bradley, a multiple inning guy, and he's been invaluable for the Diamondbacks in that role this year. Throws one by Rosario, and it's 1-2. That Giancarlo Stanton hit his 47th home run today, and that he considers 61 the magic number. So here's an instructive chart for you.
Okay.
An oral chart. 124 games, Stanton 47 home runs. 124 games, Ruth 44 home runs. 124 games, Maris 50 home runs. And then if you want to continue on, Sosa 49, McGuire 53, Bonds 56 through 124 games.
Wow.
So he's not quite on Maris's pace. It's a little behind.
How many home runs does he have in August? 13, 14?
I think it's 19 since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Okay. Just want to see monthly what he could do.
Too high to Rosario's hanging in there, 2-2.
How many times does he play the Mets? I mean, he always
just three
more, right? So that's
in Miami. Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Rosario, and he reaches out and lines one to right, but right at Martinez. It was a good at bat by Rosario, but he's retired for the first out. Today's quote of the game presented by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. Dominic Smith talking about adjusting to Major League pitching. He's trying to figure it out. Might take some time.
Honestly, that's you know, in those simple words, it's really where it's at for hitters is, you know, you try to get your feet wet, but then after a while you figure out the league and how guys are trying to get you out. That's what it's all about.
0 for 3 today, flied out twice and grounded out.
Stanton has 14 this month.
Smith lifts one to left field. It's deep. Back goes Blanco onto the warning track to make the catch. So Dom making a bid the other way. Remember, his first big league home run went to left field at Yankee Stadium. This one came up a bit shy.
Ball just beat him enough that it stayed in the ballpark. Kind of sliced it out there to left field as opposed to the ball he drove in Yankee Stadium.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Plawecki has had some really good at bats today. A 9-pitch walk in the 5th inning, a 9-pitch base hit to center his last time up in the 7th. I mean, it's a very small sample size. But since he's been back from the minor leagues, this is as good as Plawecki has looked at the plate in the major leagues. Deep pitch cast to Smith.
And you see where the ball is. I mean, it's middle. That's a ball that can get crushed, but at 96 miles an hour, it just gets too deep for you to hit the ball with your max power. It's a phrase ball players use all the time. Did you get it? Just beat me. Just beat me.
3-1 to Plawecki, and there's a strike. Thought that was low and in. Full count. Bradley came into this series with 11 walks all year. He's already walked 4 in this series, including 2 today. 3-2 to Plawecki. Cicchini would be next. And Plawecki lines one, another base hit. So Kevin Plawecki continues to turn in quality at bats. He's on base for the 3rd time today. This is exactly what the Mets were hoping to see.
Well, no signs to it for me. He just looks so much more aggressive. And maybe that's because he had a nice year in AAA and he's at the highest point his confidence has been in some time.
So the tying run aboard with 2 out. And here's Cicchini, who has also had a good day at the plate. He's lined out to 3rd, single to left, walked and scored a run. For a strike. As Drupal Cabrera out on deck with the pitcher spot due next. Mets only have 2 players left on their bench, Cabrera and Travis d'Arnaud. Started the day with a 4-man bench, but Conforto got hurt and Reynolds was used as a pinch hitter. Another curve for a strike, and it's 0-2. Tomorrow night the Mets begin a 10-game road trip in D.C. with Jacob deGrom on the mound. Coverage begins tomorrow night. Mets and Nationals 6 o'clock right here on SNY. Bradley quickly ahead on Cicchini 0-2. Now 1-2.
Nats, Reds, and the Astros. Bookended around Cincinnati, which having a tough year. 2 awfully good teams.
And it could be by the time the Mets get to Houston, they could have Carlos Correa back. begun his rehab stint. One-two coming, and he got him to end the inning. Second strikeout for Bradley. Mets have now left 9. We go to the 9th, 3-2 Arizona. Chris Herman leading off in the 9th. Herman 1 for 3 today in his first appearance in this series. Pitcher spot due up next. David Peralta out on deck to pinch hit, and then Gregor Blanco in the 9th. Could it be that we're going to see Fernando Rodney for a 3rd time in this series?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
How old is he?
That is there's a bone of contention there. No. You know, I've been watching him this entire series. He has been out there early, doing his throwing, doing his running. Fountain of youth for a man with a great changeup.
He has saves for 7 different teams for his career, and 2 of them already in this series. Fastball by Goodell, 1-2. Lays off the splitter, 2-2. And he struck him out with a splitter. That's 4 batters, 4 retired, 3 strikeouts for Goodell. Well, this was the thing that everybody's going to remember out of this game. Michael Conforto taking a swing, missing, and having that left shoulder dislocate as he swung. Kind of a gruesome image. and putting a capper on a day that began with the Mets putting out a press release updating all of their injury situations very concisely. A concise compendium of Met maladies, and then it gets compounded by the injury to Conforto. And what the prognosis is, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, he'll be out for a period of time. Whether that's the rest of the season or not remains to be seen. David Peralta pinch hitting, fouls one away. Peralta started the first 3 games of this series, had a 3-hit game last night. We do know that Zach Wheeler is done for the season. That was announced today. We do know that Tyler Pill just had elbow surgery, so he's likely done for the season. We do know that Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard are still trying to make their way back. Grounded toward the hole. Cicchini with a sliding stop gets to his feet, but he double clutched and lost the play. Would have had him had he gotten the throwaway in short order, but the double clutch allows Peralta to beat it for an infield hit.
Well, he took a beautiful path to it, and when he got up, I don't know if he lost the grip. Yeah, the ball just came out enough for him not to make the play. Good speed by Peralta, good hustle. See, when he takes it out of his glove, he didn't really reach his hand in there, so when it came out, it was on the end of his fingertips.
10th hit of the day for the Diamondbacks, the first against Goodell. And now Gregor Blanco, who had a base hit and drove in a run in the 5th. The bunt, takes a strike. Blanco 1 for 4. He had the base hit, but he's also struck out 3 times. So he's in danger of the dreaded golden sombrero. And he spun out of the way as he was trying to bunt. It's a foul ball, and it's 0-2.
Very funny approach with 1 out, a 1-run lead, and trying to bunt the runner to second base with 2 outs. Wouldn't you want to hit a ball down the line or hit a double?
Well, to me, he's bunting for a hit. He's not sacrificing.
Still a bad play.
Won't be bunting now. Little glare out at Goodell after that inside pitch.
Save it.
And that was seemed pretty uncalled for.
It's the baseball gods getting back at you for a silly play, trying to bunt the ball. Players don't like the ball inside, and as soon as pitchers realize that, then maybe the balls won't go in the second deck 5 times a game. They're just not used to it. They don't like it. Never have liked it, and no one throws inside, so now they're even less used to it than they ever have been.
We saw a lot of it early in today's game from both starters, both Montero and Ray. And Blanco goes down swinging on a high splitter for the second out, and he does have possession of the golden sombrero.
Separation of the hands, a la Ty Cobb, and then gets them together.
Second time this year Blanco struck out 4 times in a game. So 4 strikeouts for Goodell in relief. And pitchers have struck out 12 today. And now Ketel Marte, who's 1 for 2 and a sacrifice fly. And he takes a curveball for a strike. In the last of the night, the Mets will have 9, 1, and 2 in the order coming up. So probably Cabrera to pinch hit, then Lagares and Nimmo, and if anybody gets on, Cespedes. Marte. Jake Lamb would be next. Goodell trying to finish off the second effective inning of relief. Already up to 30 pitches.
That's about as far as you can push him, right, Gary?
Well, I think what we've learned about Eric is if you space out his outings, he can be a very effective reliever.
Yeah, he's not a real back-to-back kind of guy. I also don't consider him a two-inning kind of guy either. But the one thing, many things, but one of his great strengths is he's a crossover guy. He can get righties and lefties out because of that split finger.
Last foul ball caught Plawecki. He's okay. About to throw his 32nd pitch. That'll match his season high. Two to Marte. And he missed with a splitter. 3-2. So that'll give Peralta an automatic start. Smith will drop back and play behind him.
Peralta's going to get a really good start here. So even on a single base hit, you're going to have to be careful. Get the ball in.
And Marte draws the walk as Goodell appears to be running out of gas. Third time that Marte's been on base today, and now you got Jake Lamb coming up. Kevin McGowan up in the bullpen, but it looks like Goodell's going to get one more batter because it's Stan Worthen heading out to the mound.
You know, sometimes you have to make evaluations on your pitchers on their stuff. Sometimes you have to make evaluations on the hitter-pitcher matchup, and sometimes you have to make evaluations on is your pitcher still got enough left. And Goodell, to me, on fumes right now.
Season high 33 pitches. Last year he threw 38 in a game against the Cardinals. That was his career high. He's got a dangerous hitter at the plate in Jake Lamb, whom the Mets have controlled pretty well in this series. Lamb has gone 2 for 11 in the 4 games. 27 home runs, 95 driven in this year, and a chance here with 2 out and 2 on in the top of the 9th. And takes the first pitch curveball for a strike. Come into a 4-game series against the Diamondbacks, and you face Lamb and Goldschmidt, who have 193 RBIs between them. Here's a strike and it's 0-2, and so far in this series they have 2. Goldschmidt has both of them. So you have to figure that it's further ahead of the game than you expect to be. But now Goodell has to make that stick. Got ahead on Lamb with 2 curveballs. And goes to another one and bounces it 1-2. One-two coming. And he missed with the splitter. 2-2.
Well, you'd have to think it's he's staying with the soft stuff, the split finger or the breaking ball. It's probably what Dan Worthen told him when he came out.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Lamb. Got a piece of the splitter to stay alive. Well, this will be Eric Adell's career high 39th pitch. And Lamb gets under it to center field. Lagares with plenty of room, and that retires the side. Some extra heavy lifting for Eric Adell. He throws 2 scoreless innings. Mets with the last licks down by a run. Rodney now in his 15th season. 29 saves this year. Trying to get to 30 for the 5th time in his career. We've often commented about his hat, which he wears askew, and Steve Gilbs has more information. Steve?
Yeah, Gary, it's not just a fashion statement. It's a tribute, actually, to Fernando Rodney's father. His father was a fisherman, and when the sun would move, he used to turn his hat sideways to block it out. So when Rodney's father died in 2002, he started wearing his cap that ways to remember him.
Whatever way he wears it, he's effective about every single place he goes.
290 career saves. Mets will try and deny him one today. 1-run game in the 9th. As Dribble Cabrera will pinch hit to lead off. Then Juan Lagares and Brandon Nimmo, and if anybody gets on, Yoenis Cespedes would get a turn. Cabrera stuck in a slump right now, 0 for his last 14 as he comes up to pinch hit. Rodney got a save in each of the first 2 games of the series. Monday night, he gave up a leadoff home run to Conforto, then retired the next 3 to preserve a 3-2 win in the 10th. And then Tuesday night, he came in to get 1 out to preserve a 7-4 win. Now he's got a 3-2 lead in the 9th this afternoon. And Cabrera takes the changeup off the plate for ball 1.
Cabrera has pretty good numbers against Rodney, and even more importantly, a lot of at-bats.
Six for 21, including a home run, and he takes a fastball for a strike. 1-1. Rodney trying to save it for Robbie Ray, who made his first start coming back from a concussion. Went 5 good innings, allowed 1 run, struck out 9. That's about chances to rally against the Arizona bullpen. They got a leadoff double from Cespedes in the 6th, couldn't convert. They left the bases loaded after scoring a run in the 7th. 1-2 from Rodney, and it's foul back. Cabrera's home run against Rodney was last September when Rodney was pitching for the Marlins. probably the one place where he wasn't effective.
Yeah, his role kind of changed, right? Because they had a lot of guys, Ramos and others, Barraclaw, and they kind of moved him around a little bit. And when he's been most effective, it's been when he's been the man.
Right. He was in San Diego to start last year, and he was untouchable. Went to Miami, where he was put in the setup role, and that didn't work out so well. Two and two to Cabrera with Lagares on deck. And as Dribble takes inside with the changeup, it's 3-2. Cabrera gets on. To use a pitcher to pinch run. Gazelman maybe.
Because DeGrom's pitching tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3-2 coming. Check swing. Did he go? He did not. Ball four. Cabrera is on. So the Mets have the tying run aboard.
That'd be a tough call for the third base umpire, but I think the right call.
Well, no pinch runner forthcoming. So Cabrera will be at first base. Juan Lagares getting a long talking to from Glenn Sherlock in what could be a bunting situation.
Well, I think the talking to, even though there's not runners on first and second, is that if Goldschmidt is breathing down your neck, swing the bat.
Lagares has walked twice, otherwise 0 for 2. Lamb creeps in from third. Goldschmidt holding the runner at first, and Lagares set to swing and takes a fastball for a strike. Brandon Nimmo on deck. Lagares 1 for 11 in this series. Looking to make something happen. And now he squares, bunts one nicely to Lamb. He'll have to go to first. So the sacrifice successful. 5-3 for the first out. And now the tying run in scoring position for Nimmo.
Textbook there by Lagares. I guess he was given one shot, one swing, took a strike, and then bunt was on.
So here's Nimmo, who took over when Michael Conforto suffered a dislocated shoulder on a swing in the 5th inning. He completed that at bat and struck out. Then he came up with the bases loaded in the 7th. Worked a 3-2 count, then grounded out to drive in a run that cut the Diamondback lead to 3-2. It has stayed that way to this point. And now Nimmo bats with the tying run at second and 1 out in the 9th. And Brandon takes the fastball low for ball 1. Cespedes is on deck. That's looking for a big finish in the final game of their homestand. Good changeup by Rodney, 1-1. So you got Cabrera at second base, who has already been thrown out at the plate once in this series. What's it going to take on a base hit to get him home?
See Blanco on left. He's got a decent arm. Not that great. Fuentes, a good arm. But J.D. Martinez has the best arm. Martinez had a season in Detroit where he had 15 assists. We saw a throw that he threw last night in a game. So he's got the big gun in right field.
Well, you have to think that Glenn Sherlock will be a little cautious with Cabrera after he got thrown out the other night, especially with Cespedes on deck. Rodney ahead on Nimmo, 1-2. And the fastball just missed. 2-2. Rodney has saves for 7 different teams. The record is 9. Goose Gossage had saves for 9 teams. Octavio Dotel had saves for 9 teams, starting with the Mets. 2-2 coming. Nimmo grounds one down to Goldschmidt. That's the second out. Over to third goes Cabrera. So the Mets are down to their final out, but they've got Cespedes coming to the plate. Now Torey Lovullo intentionally walked Cespedes the last time he came up. The book says you don't put the winning run on base. This is going to be an exception to the book. Torey Lovullo is putting the winning run on base. Cespedes has had a big series. A home run and a double today. 8 hits and 11 at bats. So Lovullo goes against the book.
And 4 for 10 off Rodney with a home run.
So let me ask you this.
Yes.
How good is Rodney at holding runners?
Not great.
And is Cespedes, do you think, inclined to try and put the winning run into scoring position and take that gamble?
Is he inclined? That's a tough question. I think he should take the extra base because Rodney's going to give it to him. And I think that Arizona is going to give it to him. I would take it.
Here's Flores. And he takes a fastball off the plate for ball 1. Wilmer tonight is 0 for 3. He's hitless in his last 14 at bats. Tying run Cabrera at third. Potential winning run Cespedes at first with 2 out. Outside 2-0.
Rodney not paying any attention to Cespedes at first base. The middle infielders are as deep as you can get. So it'd be difficult for them to even get to the bag to make the play.
Keep in mind also, Rodney has thrown 4 wild pitches this year. He's behind on Flores 2-0. There goes Cespedes. And Wilmer flies it out to center. In comes Fuentes with Martinez, and Fuentes makes the catch, and the Diamondbacks hang on to win. Cespedes was running on the 2-0 pitch. Wilmer saw a pitch he wanted to hack at, but he flies out to center field to end it, and the Diamondbacks take 3 out of 4 in the series as Robbie Ray makes a successful return from the DL, and the Mets come up a run shy in the 9th.
Boy, you'd like to see a right fielder go behind the center fielder, not in front of him on this fly ball, but Fuentes stayed with it and averted any catastrophe. The sword's out from the quiver. 30 saves now for Rodney.
5th time he's reached 30 saves in his career. So the Mets finish a 2-7 homestand as you look at the game summary presented by Tri-State Buick. But the most important note of this game, Michael Conforto leaving with a dislocated left shoulder after taking a swing in the 5th inning, and there'll be much more on that coming up on the post-game show. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Toyota. The national clearance event is going on now. Toyota, let's go places. By Geico, over 75 years of savings and service. By Budweiser, always on deck. This Bud's for you. And by MTA Bridges and Tunnels, cashless tolling is here. Get Easy Pass today to save up to 50% on tolls. Final score this afternoon: the Diamondbacks 3 and the Mets 2. Mets begin a 10-game road trip tomorrow night in Washington. Jacob deGrom on the mound for the first of 4 with the Nationals. Coverage begins at 6 o'clock tomorrow night right here on SNY. Now for Ron